assaulting police officers. There was no equivocation about that. But let me give you an example of what I'm talking about when I say there was a bit of an extension of an olive branch. And I think this was smart because it puts the onus on state and local to collaborate with the federal government. Look, we want to tone down the chaos and we need your help and we're enlisting your help. And so do you extend your hand or do you slap ours? And if you slap ours, then who is the bad faith actor in this story?
One of the things I learned is that the guys behind me are doing an incredible job, and frankly, a lot of the media is lying about the job that they do every single day. Now, it doesn't mean that there aren't occasionally stories out there, there aren't occasionally videos out there that suggest that these guys, or at least some of the people who work for them, are not doing everything right. But very often, if you look at the context of what's going on, you understand that these people are under an incredible amount of duress, an incredible amount of chaos, and because of a few very far left agitators, a lot of these guys are unable to do their jobs without being harassed, without being doxxed, and sometimes without being assaulted. That's totally unacceptable. And that's one of the things that I want to send a message to is, yes, come out and protest me, protest our immigration policy, but do it peacefully. If you assault a law enforcement officer, the Trump administration and the Department of Justice is going to prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law.
That said, we want to turn down the chaos.
Whenever you have a law enforcement operation, even if 99.99% of the guys do everything perfectly, you're going to have people that make mistakes. That is the nature of law enforcement. What I do think that we can do is, working with state and local officials, we can make the worst moments of chaos much less common, and all they've got to do is meet us halfway. These guys want to communicate with them. They want to talk to the local business leaders. Many of these guys, many of the people standing behind me are members of the Minneapolis community. Many of the officials that I met today who work in federal immigration enforcement, this is their home. They love this place. These are their neighbors. They want this to work a lot more smoothly. I think that we can get there. We just got to work at it a little bit, and we need some cooperation from state and local officials. The last thing that I'll say is I just hope they give it. This is a beautiful city. I've only been here a few times. I love it. Even in this weather, I love Minneapolis. We could do a lot better. We could do a lot more with more cooperation. The Trump administration, the directive that I got from the President of the United States is meet these guys halfway. Work with them so that we can make these immigration enforcement operations successful without endangering our ICE officers, and so that we can turn down the chaos a little bit, at least. I think a lot, actually. But for us to do that, we need some help from the state and local officials. We will keep on working with them, and so long as they're willing to work with us, they will always find a partner in public safety and law enforcement in the Trump administration. Thank you all.
Now, you can expect the sentiment to not be returned. But as I said, I think it's an intelligent political move to at least reset the table and say, we're happy to sit at it with you. You have to let us enforce federal immigration law. That's going to happen. But we can do so constructively with your engagement, tone down the rhetoric, tone down the chaos on the streets. We don't want any part of that either. And so what say you? I think lobbing that back on their side of the court was shrewd. 312-642-5600. If you want to give us a call or a text, you can do so at that number. And he also took the time to use the controversy du jour, which is the alleged detention of a 5-year-old because ICE agents were in pursuit of his father, who fled ICE. But you, I'm sure, saw the headlines. You're hearing the usual hysterics engaged in their usual hysterics. And Vance wanted to use that as an example of where, if you actually understand what's happening and you could separate yourself from the most dishonest and intemperate voices out there, then, we can get along much better. We can turn down the chaos. And by the way, so dad and 5-year-old son Five-year-old was not arrested, but they were taken together. So, I mean, it's one of those, right, the damned if you do, damned if you don't. If they weren't taken together, and what was ICE supposed to do with a 5-year-old, leave him on the street? And then Vance makes this point. There would have been family separation if they weren't taken together. If you take them together, oh, my God, they arrested a 5-year-old. It's dishonest in both instances, and this is an example of what Vance came to Minnesota prepared to respond to. Angie Craig is a congresswoman from Minnesota. Yeah, seriously, she is. Your typical raffle. And this is, her posting of a message using this story, manufactured melodrama, really, as the basis to do what more and more on the left are doing, which is explicitly saying this is why we have to abolish ICE.
So now ICE is using a 5-year-old boy. A 5-year-old boy. They took him and used him to lure his father out. And now they've detained them both. The family doesn't know where they are. This is the worst of the damn worst. This is not humanity in Minnesota, folks. If you can look at this 5-year-old and actually with a straight face still support and be silent in the face of what the Trump administration and Kristi Noem is doing, I just can't even believe this is America. I will not vote for a damn penny to Kristi Noem or ICE in this Congress. This is a time where we should all be outraged. If this doesn't pierce through your humanity as a Republican member of Congress, you can't speak out about this, then you've got no humanity left.
Oh, boy, what a stinging indictment, from the perpetually outraged. Well, here was Vance at his press availability responding, and he got basically a toned down, not by much, toned down version of what Angie Craig just said in the form of a question from your center cut political press corps type.
Here is alleging ICE agents detained a 5-year-old after preschool on Tuesday. We've also seen multiple American citizens detained by ICE or harassed by ICE in the last 6 weeks. Are you proud of how your administration is conducting this immigration crackdown here in Minnesota right now?
Well, I'm proud of the fact that we're standing behind law enforcement, and I'm proud of the fact that we're enforcing the country's laws. But, you asked a question about this 5-year-old kid. I actually saw this terrible story while I was coming to Minneapolis. We just left Toledo, Ohio this morning for an economic messaging event. And I see this story, and I'm a father of a 5-year-old, actually, a 5-year-old little boy. And I think to myself, oh, my God, this is terrible. How did we arrest a 5-year-old? Well, I do a little bit more follow-up research. And what I find is that the 5-year-old was not arrested, that his dad was an illegal alien. And then when they went to arrest his illegal alien father, the father ran. So the story is that ICE detained a 5-year-old. Well, what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to let a 5-year-old child freeze to death? Are they not supposed to arrest an illegal alien in the United States of America? If the argument is that you can't arrest people who have violated our laws because they have children, then every single parent is going to be completely given immunity from ever being the subject of law enforcement. That doesn't make any sense. No one thinks that makes any sense. Now, there are so many of these cases like that where if you just understand the context, there have been a number of situations that I've looked into personally where I say, wait a second. We don't want ICE arresting American citizens. They're supposed to be enforcing the immigration laws against illegal aliens. So then I look into it and I find out that the American citizen who was arrested took a swing at an ICE officer. You can't have that happen. And of course they have to defend themselves. And of course they have the right to detain somebody who assaults a law enforcement officer. Now, this is my point. Do we want these things to happen? Do we want these arrests to be so chaotic? No, we don't. These guys want it least of all. But if we had a little cooperation from local and from local and state officials, I think the chaos would go way.
Yeah, the chaos would go way down. 312-642-5600. So that was your response to the outrage du jour about this 5-year-old being detained. He was detained with his father. His father is here illegally. The job of ICE is to enforce federal immigration law, and that relates to people who are here illegally. And make arrangements. I mean, that was the point, I think, too, of having federal law enforcement agents behind him to say, these are people who live. A lot of them are people who live here too. These are not monsters. They're Americans doing a job, and an important job, and doing it very well in most instances. And so just tone it down. Nobody is Gestapoing the American public. Show me your papers, disappearing people, arresting 5-year-olds. I mean, can you just get a grip? And there needs to be more of that. So from the press availability the president did earlier this week with his going through one mugshot after the other of violent criminals in this country illegally that have been apprehended by ICE, to what J.D. Vance did yesterday in Minnesota, there needs to be more of this full court press. Don't let a day go with any of the agitprop of the left being unresponded to, and frankly, proactively, not just with the website, the worst of the worst page on the DHS website, but with surrogates, the president and Vance and surrogates making the case, responding to invented stories like this 5-year-old, or at least the characterization of the story by the D.C. press corps. That's what has to happen. That's what has to happen. And I think there's a realization that doing the right thing, the American public is inclined to support the substance of what ICE is doing and what this administration is doing with the enforcement of federal immigration law. But the left is good at pulling at heartstrings. The left is good at telling tall tales, and that can't go unchallenged. Larry Elmhurst, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Hey, everybody knows you got to use a minnow to catch a bigger fish.
Okay, translate.
Well, that's how they got the father to come out, right? Use the bait.
They weren't baiting. No, they didn't say we have your son come out. They were pursuing him. They apprehend him, and they have a child to deal with as they're figuring out the situation. He's in custody, figuring out who can take care of the son while he deals with, being in the custody of ICE and the legal process that flows from there. Coming up at 5:38, speaking of detentions, arrests made at the authorization of Attorney General Pam Bondi with respect to those who incurred into City's Church in St. Paul. And Don Lemon, or Lamone, not one of them. 5:38, now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's -3 degrees. Feels like it's -24 here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Chicago Public Schools is one of many districts throughout the state that have canceled classes due to the extreme cold. In addition to the school district, Cook County Circuit Courts will be closed today, and the Chicago Plunge has been canceled. A driver is facing multiple felony charges after the stolen vehicle he was driving struck a trooper squad car in Chicago. ISP says the trooper's car was stopped when the 29-year-old blew through a red light and crashed into the squad car along with another vehicle. DeMarco T. Hill and the trooper were both taken to the hospital with minor injuries. ISP says Hill was carrying a loaded firearm and was also charged with unlawful possession of cannabis. And maintenance workers will be patrolling the tollways this weekend as the bitter cold takes over the region. If you need to be rescued, you can call 999 and the tollways will send a worker out to assist. News is a service of Audible. It's time to take care of you, and who better to help you than the top voices in well-being on Audible? Kickstart your well-being journey with your first audiobook free when you sign up for a 30-day trial at audible.com/wellbeing.
On February 24th, President Trump will deliver his State of the Union address to Congress.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
And AM 560 The Answer is throwing a viewing party. And you're invited to join us for dinner at the Meridian Banquets and Conference Center in Rolling Meadows. Enjoy dinner before the speech and then watch the speech with AM 560's Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, Jeannie Ives, Amy Jacobson, and John Anthony. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/party. Sponsored in part by Edward Jones agent Nolan Webster.
If the server asks you how you would like your steak cooked and you respond, on the grill, you might need a better night's sleep.
People are loving Penny Mustard's line of double-sided memory foam mattresses.
If you apologize to the chair you just bumped into, you might need a better night's sleep.
Made in Wisconsin and built to last 45% longer than the average memory foam mattress.
If you make small talk with your chiropractor and ask what they do for a living,
insanely comfortable, exclusive double-sided memory foam developed by the sleep geniuses at Penny Mustard.
if you tried pinching and expanding the page of a magazine,
Offering zero-gravity sleep positioning.
And backed by a 1-year comfort guarantee.
if the cashier says, have a great day, and you respond, no thank you, you might need a better night's sleep.
And a better night's sleep starts at Penny Mustard Furnishings.
Find a showroom near you at pennymustard.com.
Better versions of the sleep people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishing.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck, and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment, coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
File your taxes for free with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. Just file on your own in the Credit Karma app by February 28th. Valid for those who didn't file with TurboTax last year.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be breezy and significantly colder with a mix of clouds and sunshine. The high temperature will reach 4 degrees below zero. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies and very cold conditions as the temperature drops close to the record low of 15 degrees set back in 1897. It'll become breezy later on with a low of 11 degrees below zero. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, talking about J.D. Vance visit to Minnesota yesterday, the comments that he made, the olive branch that he extended to state and local officials that is sure to be ignored by said. But the important point is the administration made the offer. J.D. Vance wasn't the only one visiting Minnesota yesterday. We also had the FBI visiting Minnesota to take certain people into custody, like Don Lemone's friend, Nakima Levy-Armstrong. She was the organizer of this Operation Pull-Up exercise that involved breaking into City's Church in St. Paul, trespassing, disrupting the prayer service, unleashing the goons and the droogs and the thugs and the mooks associated with these radical organizations to excoriate congregants of the church and effectively force them from their place of worship, which is what happened. Well, this is what Miss Armstrong had to say to her buddy Don Lemon, the journalist, prior to that incursion at City's Church in St. Paul.
Okay. How are you? Good to see you. We're on. We're not saying what it is, what's going on, but thank you. Tell us why you're doing this.
So
this is Nikema Levy Armstrong. She's on the show on Friday.
Levy Armstrong, civil rights attorney, longtime activist here in the community. And, we protest and do activism in all kinds of ways. This is Operation Pull Up, more of a clandestine operation. We show up somewhere that is a key location. They don't expect us to come there. And then we disrupt business as usual. So that's what we're about to go do right now.
And that's what they did, disrupt business as usual. Except disrupting business as usual in a place of worship the way they did is violation of federal law, the FACE Act. And, of course, there's a hue and cry from people like Pajamas Boy Jacob Fry.
Yeah, so I want to comment on Nikema Levy Armstrong's arrest. It's a gross abuse of power, and she should immediately be released.
That's not going to happen. And, of course, when the left uses FACE Act to, in many instances, wrongly prosecute prayer warriors outside an abortion clinic who are not disrupting the operation of the business. You can sit silently on a public sidewalk in prayer. You can talk to people on a public sidewalk. You're not disrupting the business of an abortion mill, even though people like Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison have pursued prosecutions under laws like that at the state level. And there have been prosecutions from Biden's Justice Department under the FACE Act for prayer warriors outside an abortion clinic. They were pardoned by President Trump, actually, in one instance. In addition to the FACE Act being used, as it is here, to prosecute people who are alleged to have disrupted people's First Amendment right to worship, right of conscience. So that's what's happening. And in addition to her, of course, I would say the face guy for the professional agitators in Minnesota is the woke farmer, William Scott Kelly. You're familiar with William Scott Kelly. We've offered you some of his reviews of the situation, some of his terribly insightful commentary on federal immigration policy, the Marxist Revolution. It wasn't just a couple days ago that he dared Pam Bondi to come to Minnesota and arrest him.
So, Pam Bondi, you want to come and arrest me? You want to come and give me charges? So be it.
Okay, well, so you want it, so shall it be done. And it was done. He was arrested. This was his behavior on the day that Miss Levy Armstrong and the other goons, like the woke farmer, this was his behavior on that day that they ended that prayer service at the church.
As you can see, all these pretend Christians,
inside
all these
the church,
comfortable white people who are living lavish, comfortable lives while children are dragged into concentration camps. You're living real life, nice lives with your lattes, doing absolutely nothing for your Latino and Somali brothers and sisters. You come here to a man wearing a suit. Is a preacher? Did Jesus wear a suit? Did Jesus profit off the words? No! Jesus would dine with immigrants. Do not touch me. Touch me again and see what happens.
Hey, you can't.
You are a fake Christian. Why are you not standing with your Somali and Latino communities? Why do I not see you out at Whipple every day protesting this attack on humanity? Where are you? You're sinners. You're pretending to be Christians. But we know you live an easy life, don't you? A very easy life while people are starving. Shame.
Shame. Now, I know Don Lemon thinks that, that's God's house, so it's everybody's house. And so you can just come into City's Church in this instance and go off like a raving maniac, excoriating the congregants, disrupting and ending the service. It will shock Don Lemon to know that you can't do that. That's a violation of the law. And so DeWoke Farmer has also been detained. And Don Lemon, here he pops up again, interviewed DeWoke Farmer earlier in the week before the incursion, maybe it was right after, actually. I think it was right after. Just as he interviewed so many congregants in the church, he was in the church. This was the nature of the interview. You've heard from DeWoke Farmer, so you get a little sense of him.
People who are wearing the uniform now, you think they're patriots?
I don't think so, especially those ICE agents.
That's
No,
what I'm talking
no.
about. Yeah. Well,
No, they're terrorists. They're traitors.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for your service. I appreciate.
Thank you for your service. What service did they provide? But Don Lemon is a journalist. He's just there to chronicle what's happening. He wasn't part of the mob. He wasn't charged. A federal judge would not approve charges against Don Lemon. And so you say, well, that's clearly Pam Bondi. That was an overreach because he's a journalist and so on and so forth. It's a closer call because he was there interviewing. He didn't commit any acts of violence. He arguably did trespass into the church and contributed to the violations of the FACE Act. I think you could successfully argue. There's another aspect to this as well in terms of why Don Lemon was not the fourth person arrested yesterday. Bill Maloogian, Fox News, reporting that multiple sources tell me that the federal magistrate in Minnesota who refused to sign off on an arrest warrant for Don Lemon is Douglas Micko, and that his wife works as an assistant attorney general in Minnesota AG Keith Ellison's office. Maybe the Honorable Judge Micko would want to have conflicted himself out of the decision as to whether or not to sign off on said arrest warrant. Oh, and by the way, DeWoke Farmer, he is still strident. Don't think that an arrest that he wanted and got has him down. This is what he had to say in response to word that got out that Miss Levy Armstrong had been arrested.
They've just arrested Nikema Armstrong for our protest on Sunday. You know, my lawyers tell me they have no case. This use of the FACE Act and the KKK Act is complete bullshit. But let's be honest, they don't care. They don't believe in the rule of law. They're fascists. They're now going after the Clintons for the Epstein files? What the God damn it, people. When will you stop acting like everything's normal and going about your days? Get in the streets now. It's time to shut this country down. We are at fascism. The republic has fallen. Please, Americans, please stand up for something. Do not be the same as those in 1930s Germany, because right now that's exactly what you're all doing. Please wake the up.
All right. You go. I'll meet you out there, DeWoke Farmer. Yeah, let me. I got a couple of things I do, and then I'll get out there on the streets to help foment the revolution with you. But you just, I'll meet you. 312-642-5600 is the line to call if you want to chime in on this discussion. You can also text us there. George, Naperville.
Yes, Dan, was the woke farmer who was arrested one of Mr. Rogers' neighbors?
Yeah, I think King Friday imprisoned him. Thanks for the call, George. Yeah, so there's Miss Levy Armstrong, and there's DeWoke Farmer. Again, I think increasingly the voice, if not the inspiration, for what's going on in Minnesota. Don Lemon is managed to dodge this so far. There was one exchange between Lemon and the congregants that we didn't get to yet this week, and I thought this was really good, and it just gives you a real nice contrast between those who are so politically addled. Their mind is so politically addled. They're so corrupted. They've been so radicalized. They don't have the capacity for critical thought. Everything needs to be shoehorned through this political prism as they really beclown themselves and act in ways that are disgraceful and inhumane and unkind. There's such a contrast there between a normal person who, renders unto Caesar what is Caesar's and unto God what is God's, and tries to play by the rules. And when he goes to his church on Sunday, he wants to have that be a moment of personal reflection and spiritual growth, time with his family. This exchange between Don Lemon, who casts himself as a Christian, while he says all sorts of intemperate things about the people he just interviewed, too. I mean, he's really sort of a disgraceful, petty, venal, small, little dinky man, invoking white supremacy and entitlement and so on and so forth. This exchange.
What do you think of this? I'm a Christian here that wants to praise the Lord with my son, and now I got to go home. I'm sorry that you guys are so angry.
I'm just chronicling. I'm not with the group.
What do I have to say?
Can you understand why they're angry?
I don't understand any of this because I'm a simple man. I'm a simple man who loves the Lord and is a good father. This is what we look forward to, is coming, being with our family and praising Jesus, and that's not something that we have to run away from. So this is kind of a bad day for us. But, we're going to heaven, so that's the best news we got.
Do you understand that some of these folks feel voiceless?
I don't understand, because right now I'm so upset right now. I don't really have I'm thirsty, and I can't think very clearly. So what I want to do is just say, we love you. My son and I love you guys. And
I'm a journalist. They're activists.
The simplest thing we can say is that we love you guys.
What do you mean, you guys?
Well, whoever's here in this house.
Okay.
We don't distinguish between Christian and non-Christian. We love everyone. We want everyone to come to heaven.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. We want folks to go to heaven. And if we need to talk about these things, then this isn't the time for that, really.
But don't you think until we go to heaven, if you believe in that there should be some sort of peace here on earth, and that people should have agency, and we shouldn't be beating people up off the street, and we should be abiding by the Constitution?
I think that's just a little bit loaded for me right now, what you're doing.
Why so?
Well, I don't want to interview right now. I don't want to interview. I just want to tell you guys I love you. I don't need to interview right now because I want to be with my son. It's Sunday. It's time for rest and for renewal. I would like to answer your question. I just can't right now.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. I'm not with them. I'm just a journalist. Oh, that's good stuff, Don. Mike in Union.
He's such a petty coward, pretending not to be an activist. And I'm sure he worked his angle so he wouldn't get arrested, because he's truly not down for the struggle and pushing the LGBTQ angle always when it comes to all things. Don, you're a coward, and the people that associate with him should just tell him to go away. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks for the call, Mike. It's just right. No space is inviolate. That's the message. And we don't care about your faith, and we don't care about your God. You're going to genuflect before ours, which is, I don't know, you can call it themselves, you can call it mammon, you can call it politics. It's all one and the same. Harry, Holly, Michigan.
Hey, good morning, Dan, and thank you for your great shows as always. I was just curious, if you want to pass on the conspiracy, this William Kelly apparently has been arrested 3 times, paid protester. Is our government passing along tips to the IRS as far as to make sure these people are filing their 1099s, paying taxes, or just getting pay on the side and also maybe on the doles for welfare, etc.?
Well, thanks for the call, Harry. That's a fair question. Now that he's in custody, if they can add charges, that he is under scrutiny, if they can add charges, they're they're likely to do so. That's what prosecutors do. Yeah, DeWoke farmer. I would like to know what he farms. Maybe we'll discover that in the process of his of the adjudication of his case. Rich, St. John, Indiana.
Hey, Dan, how you doing?
Good.
Yeah, appreciate the show. Appreciate that. There's a lot of people weighing in with scriptural passages today. I don't know if it's a special day or what, but like using that
hell has frozen
like,
over in the Midwest, so that's maybe, I don't know.
Maybe that's it. Maybe the Bibles are coming out, but this whole thing about spending time and effort to like confront Don Lemon, whatever you want to call him, that sort of thing is almost like a waste of time. You're spending time like, okay, well, all right, let's talk to him. Let's give him a platform. I really think that giving some of these, extreme lefts like a platform, don't even dignify it with a comment, just chuckle and go, yeah, we know where you're coming from, and move on. So, hey, you know what? I heard the AM 560 team is coming to somewhere in Rolling Meadows for a
Meridian Banquets. State of the Union watching party. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nice. The State of the Union watching party. So I think the State of the Union is, for most people, is looking up. Optimism. It looks optimistic. So I think that's a great idea. I think like get with people who can first gather and then form an action plan and actually do something. I think that's great. So and I heard.
Oh, sorry, Rich. I didn't mean to cut you off, but thanks for the call. Yeah. I mean, like the profiling of these professional agitators and their enablers like Don Lemon is important in the context of making sure people understand what's really afoot here. Because, if you just consume the narratives of the legacy media, then you have a completely distorted understanding of what ICE is doing, of the nature of opposition to federal law enforcement when it comes to enforcing immigration law, the challenges ICE is up against and why in sanctuary jurisdictions. So, I mean, it's just important to understand, like in anything, who the players are, what the motivations are, who is operating on the level and who is not, what interests are being prosecuted. I mean, that's the only way you get a true appreciation of what the reality is. And it includes some of these animals on the streets of big cities in America following ICE around. Frank, Board of Trade.
I think following these characters down a rabbit hole is a big waste of time, much less showing a bunch of pictures of criminals. 2,749,706. That's the number of deportations under Obama. That should be the first word out of every politician's lips every time they approach a dais.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Frank. Yeah, well, I mean, you think, as we've done, but just playing clips of the Clintons and Obama over the last 20 years, Schumer, pointing out the 180 they've done, that suffices. I mean, I think it's part of it. I think you should. The institutional memory is important. But, and statistics like how many people Obama deported, sure, it's part of it. But I think you have to provide work product of what you're doing right now and why to bring the American people along. It is now 6 o'clock at AM 560 WIND.
Millions of Americans are doing the same thing. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, getting ready for a nasty winter storm.
I'm just looking for a loaf of bread to get me through the weekend.
But that's not been easy in Dallas.
This is my 6th store I've been to today. I started out last night, but the shelves are all empty.
Texas will start to get hit tonight.
And boy, we are going to have a large-scale storm on our hands.
Fox meteorologist Adam Klotz.
From Texas
all the way to the northeast. Now, I think ice is going to be the most damaging, the most deadly, the most dangerous of this entire situation. In some cases, maybe an inch of ice, but even a quarter inch of ice, that's going to be enough to take down power lines Dallas over to Little Rock, getting up towards Nashville.
It's also going to be frigid in many areas. There are 40 below zero wind chills now in Minnesota, where a day of anti-ice protest is planned. Organizers urging people to not work, not go to school, and not shop. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey praises those standing up against immigration enforcement raids he opposes.
We're seeing constitutional violations play out in real time.
Vice President Vance went to Minneapolis calling for calm and cooperation.
Working with state and local officials, we can make the worst moments of chaos much less common.
3 people have been arrested in a federal investigation into the anti-ice protest inside a St. Paul church on Sunday. The deal's done to keep TikTok operating in the U.S. The social media app's Chinese parent company has sold most of TikTok to a group of mostly American investors.
With ByteDance, the Chinese-owned company, retaining a nearly 20% stake. The arrangement settles concerns from lawmakers about Chinese influence and data collection. Congress passed a law in 2024 banning TikTok in the U.S. unless the app was sold.
Fox's Jared Halper. Now to another done deal.
Pulling out of the World Health Organization was among the executive orders signed by President Trump on his first day back in office, accusing it of mismanaging the COVID-19 pandemic and being too susceptible to political influence. Also, there's never been an American as its chief executive. That withdrawal has now been finalized.
That's Fox's Chris Foster. America's
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It is -4 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keen in the QC Kinetics newsroom. A Chicago man accused of offering $10,000 for the death of Border Patrol Chief Gregory Bovino has been acquitted by a federal jury. Fox's Jessica Rosenthal has more.
Federal prosecutors in Chicago had charged 37-year-old Juan Espinoza Martinez with murder for hire. He'd sent a Snapchat message of a picture of Gregory Bovino with the words $10,000 if you take him down. The message was sent to his younger brother and an acquaintance who turned out to be a government informant. Bovino has served as the commander in charge of executing ICE operations in various cities. Prosecutors said Martinez was obsessed with Bovino and highlighted other messages he sent, but attorneys for Mendoza said he sent this message as a piece of neighborhood gossip about the enforcement operations in the city. They also showed the jury clips of his interview with law enforcement where he expressed confusion about the accusations against him. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
Chicago Public Schools, one of the many districts throughout our state that have canceled classes for today due to the extreme cold. In addition to the school district, the Cook County Circuit Courts will also be closed. Maintenance workers will be patrolling the tollways all weekend long. They'll be assisting stranded drivers. Officials remind you if you do have to go out, you're advised to wear lots of layers, stay fully covered to avoid frostbite, and carry a fully charged cell phone just in case of emergencies. And finally, if you have pets, you're reminded to limit their time outside as well. And the Chicago Bears could be one step closer to becoming the Indiana Bears. The Indiana Senate Appropriations Committee has formally established the Northwest Indiana Stadium Authority. Now, if passed by the state, the bill would give the new board the authority to find and purchase land and finance construction for a stadium that would be leased back to the Bears. This report is a service of the AM 560 Advantage. Membership has its privileges, including early access to event tickets, exclusive contest opportunities, and special members-only content. Join today at 560theanswer.com/join. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Scott Jennings sees the president cleaning up a mess.
You know, since President Trump took office, headline inflation has been running at about 2.4%. It was 3% under Biden. Core inflation has been running at 2.4%. It was 3.3% under Biden. The numbers don't lie. Trump has lowered inflation from the mess he inherited from Joe Biden.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at noon, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
The following is a paid political announcement.
This is Kevin Coyne, chairman of the DuPage County GOP. I am inviting you to our Lincoln Day dinner on Friday, February 27th at Abington Banquets in Glen Ellen. We will feature keynote speaker and national political commentator Tudor Dixon. Enjoy an evening of camaraderie, great food, and Republican unity. Sponsorship packages are available. Purchase tickets today at DuPageGOP.com. Paid for by DuPage County Republican Central Committee.
Progressive Commercial knows truckers can expect the unexpected when driving, but a little heads up like this would still be nice.
Breaker
tanker truck driver. I'm the local meteorologist. Just letting you know I got the days mixed up and a little bit of hail is coming. Over. Actually, it's a hailstorm. My bad. Over.
Be ready for the unexpected with primary liability limits up to $2 million on our specialty heavy truck coverage. Get a quote at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, covered subject to terms and limits.
Welcome to the most wonderful time of the year, when millions of Americans open their credit card statements, scream in terror, and start looking for new ways to save money. If that's you, why not cut your wireless bill in half with a saver plan from Pure Talk? You'll get unlimited talk, text, and 3 gigs of high-speed data on a super fast 5G network for just $20 a month. Ho, ho, ho. Just dial pound 250, say micro, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team will help you switch in minutes. Again, talk, text, and data for just $20 a month.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly. Each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Your home or business has storm damage and you have an insurance claim.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters. Today, insurance companies are notorious for offering way too little money to repair damage to your home or commercial building due to wind, hail, tornado, floods, or fire. Crosscom works for you, not the insurance company. As licensed adjusters, Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout.
Call Crosscom.
630-871-5500. After they get you the fair insurance company result, Crosscom can start doing your repairs. Crosscom is a full construction and restoration company that will get your property back to its pre-loss condition, getting your life back to normal. Roof, siding, windows, doors, fire restoration, Crosscom does it all.
Call Crosscom.
Licensed in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin.
This is Dan Lights with Crosscom. We share your conservative and Christian values. Let us handle everything. It all starts with a call.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Looking good this morning inbound on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes. Outbound is 14. The Kennedy is light inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 10 minutes in. Outbound is 8. The Eisenhower is about 14 minutes both ways from Wolf to the Old Post Office. No major delays on the Stevenson inbound from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore, 25 minutes. Outbound is 22. It's 14 minutes inbound on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange. Outbound is 10. A little bit sluggish on the inbound express lanes from 33rd Street to the Stevenson, and sluggish on the Bishop Ford inbound between Cottage Grove Avenue and the Dan Ryan. Watch out for a crash on the north side in Bucktown on Ashland Avenue at Elston Avenue. This report is a service of the AM 560 Advantage. Membership has its privileges, including early access to event tickets, exclusive contest opportunities, and special members-only content. Join today at 560theanswer.com/join. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be breezy and significantly colder with a mix of clouds and sunshine. The high temperature will reach 4 degrees below zero. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies and very cold conditions as the temperature drops close to the record low of 15 degrees set back in 1897. It'll become breezy later on with a low of 11 degrees below zero. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is sponsored by Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman. Listen Saturday mornings at 8. Learn more at willsave.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So Jack Smith, former special counsel Jack Smith, before the House Judiciary Committee yesterday. And he stridently declared in his opening statement,
I stand by my decisions as special counsel, including the decision to bring charges against President Trump.
Yeah, the Wall Street Journal opining. Attorney General Merrick Garland had many options for special counsel. And Smith's testimony proves again he was the wrong man for a job that required someone with prudential judgment rather than a prosecutor determined from the start to prosecute. Yeah, not only determined to prosecute, he was working backwards. Here's a guy I want to get, and now let's figure out how to get him. Very Soviet. The Journal goes on to say the special counsel brushed aside questions of presidential immunity and how much of Trump's stolen election claim was protected speech. But litigation over the immunity issue held up Mr. Smith's case, and then he lost 6-3 at the Supreme Court, you'll remember. He hangs on to the hypothetical that were he allowed to proceed, had he been allowed to proceed, a jury would have convicted Trump. A D.C. jury would have convicted Trump, hypothetically. Well, that's part of the problem, isn't it? Because other juries have convicted people in Jack Smith prosecutions that had to go all the way to the Supreme Court to sort of get some of their reputation back, like former Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell. And that was the point, before we get to some of the key parts of his testimony, just sort of an overview. I thought Tom Tiffany, the Republican congressman from Wisconsin, who's running for governor up there, I thought he made a couple of good points. I don't think he quite got the gist of who Jack Smith is, so we'll talk about that. But he went back in Jack Smith's career, and this is important, to the heady days when Lois Lerner was over at the IRS slow-walking 501c3 applications from conservative-oriented nonprofits, Second Amendment groups, pro-life groups. Remember the inquiries about the kind of give me copies of the prayers you pray, all sorts of violations. And as the story goes, this unfortunate story that repeats itself, no one was held accountable then, not Lerner, not the IRS director, not Obama's IRS director at the time, and not Jack Smith. And another decade's worth of Jack Smith's lawlessness under the color of law. Take a listen to the exchange.
Did you attempt to work with Lois Lerner and the IRS to investigate nonprofits?
What I did was I asked for a meeting with the IRS about nonprofits.
So the simple answer is yes.
Well, I didn't ask to work with Ms. Lerner. They sent Ms. Lerner. That's the person who came to this meeting. I met her once.
And they went after Second Amendment groups, correct? If you remember correctly, that's what was the offshoot of it, that Second Amendment groups that tried to gain nonprofit status, they were slow-rolled through the IRS. Do you recall that?
Separate from this, there was an investigation of that that I was a part of in public integrity.
Did you? You prosecuted Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell. This was asked earlier. You prosecuted him, correct?
I was part of the prosecution, yes.
And that ended up with that decision ended up being unanimously overturned by the Supreme Court, correct?
That is correct, sir.
Yeah, including Justice Ginsburg joined in on that opinion, correct?
I believe that's correct.
Yeah. You also prosecuted John Edwards and Bob Menendez, and those both ended in mistrials. Is that right?
The John Edwards case did. The Menendez case, I had left the public integrity section by the time that case was tried. I wasn't.
So, Mr. Chairman, what we heard from the other side here is that this gentleman is the gold standard for prosecution here in the United States. So think about it. We had a witch hunt done by the IRS going after Second Amendment groups, unanimously overturned by the Supreme Court, prosecuted two prominent political figures, and they ended up as mistrials. That's the gold standard here in America. I would just say this, Mr. Chairman. If Mr. Smith ever works for the Department of Justice again, I would recommend a remedial course on the First Amendment to the Constitution.
312-642-5600 if you want to give us a call or text with your impressions of Jack Smith's testimony and the efforts that, both sides, but particularly House Republican members of the Judiciary Committee made to provide some illumination as to Jack Smith's alleged misconduct. Maybe it doesn't rise to the level of illegality. Maybe it does. But certainly the lack of prudential judgment, as the Wall Street Journal very nicely said. I think it's a little bit worse than that. The interesting thing about that approach that Tom Tiffany took to go back to the IRS abuses of conservative organizations and Jack Smith's presence there. Boy, Jack Smith and public integrity. Those are words that do not belong in the same sentence together. But it says something that Jack Smith, he may not be a partisan. The accusation he's leftist partisan. He may not be, but even if he is not, he's something else that is particularly disturbing. And it's not unusual for prosecutors, which is why, by the way, I'm a little bit more skeptical of prosecutors, particularly prosecutors who then try to leverage their law and order credentials as a prosecutor to run for high office. We've seen that play out before. It oftentimes does not work out very well because these guys are transactional. By the nature of their job, they somewhat have to be, but they're not philosophical. They're not necessarily good executives either. And also there's a little bit of an ends justify the means attitude that creeps in, not with all, but with some, which is why I think you have to present healthy skepticism as you would to any other political candidate. Just because you are a prosecutor, it's interesting, tell me more, okay, but that doesn't sort of insulate you from scrutiny and reproach. Anyway, the point I'm getting to with Smith is big game hunter. McDonnell, Menendez, Trump. If there's an opportunity to credentialize yourself, I want to go after big game. And if you point me in a direction of a trophy, then I am going to try to get that trophy. Trump, Menendez, McDonnell, conservative organizations. So maybe he isn't a partisan, but that doesn't make him any less corrupt necessarily in terms of what his motivations are, and it's not equal protection under the law. Now, this other matter, well, there's a couple of other matters. One of them, though, of course, is the news that broke last year that Jack Smith, in pursuit of Trump, had subpoenaed the phone records of members of Congress, Republican members of Congress, without disclosing that to those members of Congress, without them knowing. And this, as you can imagine, rankled members of Congress. And it's not just rankling them. It's not just rankling them because they find it sort of, invasive or something like this. It's also because it's an abuse of the Constitution, arguably. And you'll hear this referenced in particularly the exchange that our friend Brandon Gill from Texas had with ISA. Not with ISA, and ISA did too, but Brandon Smith from Texas had with Jack Smith. Article 1, Section 6, Clause 1 of the Constitution grants members of Congress immunity from lawsuits or criminal charges for anything said or done during official legislative activities, ensuring legislative independence and protecting them from executive or judicial intimidation. Senators, representatives are privileged from arrest during attendance in Congress and while traveling to and from. They shall not be questioned in any other place or any other or for any speech or debate in either house. Speeches on the House floor, House or Senate floor, are protected. Votes and legislative deliberations are protected. And the interesting thing to note about the approach that Smith took, as was conceded by Smith under questioning yesterday, is that the approach he took, which he kept saying was consistent with department policy, that policy has since been changed because of the precedent it would otherwise set to do fishing expeditions where you're, I think, if you're not over the line. You're right up to the line, infringing on constitutional protections, the speech or debate clause that I just mentioned. And so the first exchange, it brings up the issue of subpoenaing Kevin McCarthy's phone records particularly. This is Dare Lysa first.
Did you, whether you think it was legal or not, whether you think it was right or not, did you withhold the name of Kevin McCarthy, Speaker of the House, when you were seeking records on Kevin McCarthy, the Speaker of the House, or Jim Jordan, the chairman of this committee?
At the time the gentleman is...
No, please give me back the time that would take it away.
Time has expired, but we're going to let the witness answer your question because it's an important question. The witness can respond.
We did not provide that information to the judge when we requested a nondisclosure order, consistent with the law and consistent with Department
Mr. Chairman, the amazing thing here today is that we have an admission that an article...
Mr. Chairman, the gentleman's time has expired by now 34 seconds.
It gets more than 5 minutes.
How many times are you going to interrupt me?
The time belongs to the gentleman from California, but it has expired.
I will be brief in my address to the chairman. We have the evidence that an Article I representative on behalf of the president withheld that Article 3.
Mr. Chairman, our witness granted the same leniency.
And with that, I yield back in disgust of this witness.
Okay, so that was a good table setter. Brandon Gill from Texas did the best job cross-examining, as he has done multiple times in this setting. So he picks up where Issa left off, talking about subpoenaing then House Speaker Kevin McCarthy's phone records, and walks the gold standard for federal prosecutors, Jack Smith, into one trap after the other.
Mr. Smith, in January of 2023, did you subpoena then Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy's toll records?
Yes, sir, we did.
Yes, you did. And the subpoena covered the time period between November 2020 and January 2021. Is that right?
I'm sorry, sir. Could you say that again?
We're not going to delay like this. The subpoena covered the time period between November of 2020 and January 2021. How many days after Kevin McCarthy was sworn in as Speaker did you subpoena his records?
I don't recall, but those two things had nothing to do with one.
It was 16 days after becoming the highest-ranking Republican in the House of Representatives. You subpoenaed his toll records. Do you agree that that might reasonably be considered a violation of the speech or debate clause?
I do not, and I want to be clear that the toll records...
You were collecting months' worth of phone data on the Republican Speaker of the House, the leader of the opposition, right after he got sworn in as Speaker, all around the time of a major vote. That sounds like a flagrant violation of the speech or debate clause to me, and I think most people agree with me. And Speaker McCarthy had no recourse, did he? Because you issued a non-disclosure order ensuring that neither he nor any of the American people knew about these subpoenas. Is that right?
The toll record, the non-content toll record subpoenas, we did secure non-disclosure orders for those subpoenas.
You did. And let me ask you, Mr. Smith, at the time you secured those non-disclosure orders, was Speaker McCarthy a flight risk?
The non-disclosure order was based on concerns about...
Was Speaker McCarthy a flight risk?
He was not.
He was not. Then why did your non-disclosure order refer to him as a flight risk? It says right here, the court finds reasonable grounds to believe that such disclosure will result in flight from prosecution.
Sir, when securing a non-disclosure order, the risks don't have to be associated...
You think that the Speaker of the House is a flight risk?
The question?
No, this is not your time. This is my time. You think the Speaker of the House is a flight risk? You think he's going to hop on a plane and leave the country?
No, what I was trying to explain is with respect to a non-disclosure order, the risks aren't necessarily associated with the subscriber to the phone. They're the risks to the investigation.
I think that you were using, this was clearly in reference to Speaker McCarthy, and you were using clearly false information to secure a non-disclosure order to hide from Speaker McCarthy and from the American people the fact that you were spying on his toll records.
312-642-5600 is call-in and text line. That's exactly what he was doing. It is not dissimilar to the false representations that were made by Jim Comey's FBI to secure FISA warrants to spy on the Trump campaign. Standard operating procedure for these guys. And justify the means. I'm trophy hunting. One more from Brandon Gill. On the belief or lack thereof that what Jack Smith was doing with these subpoenas and the non-disclosures to hide the fact that records had been subpoenaed, as Brandon Gill said, but both from those targeted as well as from the American people. Spying on members of Congress doesn't look great. So what was the view internally as to whether this was violative constitutionally?
In May of 2023, you also issued subpoenas for toll records of 9 U.S. senators and an additional representative. Is that right?
In May of 23, we did issue...
You did, and there were non-disclosure orders in conjunction with those subpoenas as well, right?
That's correct, consistent with department policy and the law.
So again, nobody would know what you were doing. The senators would and the representatives would and the American people wouldn't know what you were doing. Is that right?
The toll records that we secured and the non-disclosure orders were consistent with policy and...
And you knew whenever you were doing that there was a risk you were violating the speech or debate clause. Is that right?
The toll record subpoenas that we secured were with the concurrence of the public integrity.
Your own analysis says that you knew there was a risk you were violating the speech or debate clause. I have it right here. This is an email from John Keller at Public Integrity Section to your team. As you are aware, quote, as you are aware, there is some litigation risk regarding whether compelled disclosure of toll records of a member's legislative calls violates the speech or debate clause in the D.C. Circuit. That's from your own analysis right there. So you did know, didn't you?
Sir, with respect to the item you just put up on the screen, the last sentence states...
we're going to get to the last sentence.
Okay.
We're going to get to the last sentence. And you cite case law in here, quote, the bar on compelled disclosure is absolute. Is that right? Or do you think that you didn't have to abide by that precedent?
To be clear, this statement is not from my office. This is the statement of the public.
This is your justification for those subpoenas and NDOs that you ordered. This was part of your analysis. It's a cursory analysis. I think it's worth noting. But let's get to that last sentence then. Quote, given my understanding of the low likelihood that any of the members listed below would be charged, the litigation risk should be minimal here. In other words, you're using a novel legal theory, which you knew was novel, has never been tested by any court. You're not charging any of these members. Nobody's going to know about it because you issued NDOs. Nobody's going to sue about it, so who cares? We're going to do it anyways. I mean, you walked all over the Constitution throughout this entire process.
Mr. Chairman, the gentleman's time's expired.
Spying on members of Congress, and you know it. It's absolutely disgraceful. I yield back.
312-642-5600 is the call-in line and text line. Jack Smith said in an exchange with Becca Ballant from Vermont that, he fully expects the Department of Justice to try and indict him because Trump set them out to, get me. So, now he's, of course, projecting onto the Trump administration and the Department of Justice the approach that he actually took as a prosecutor, which is to show me the man and I'll find you the crime. That's what he's suggesting he's potentially a victim of here. As I said, Brandon Gill, I think, did the best deconstruction of Jack Smith and exposed exactly who he is and what he did. And he definitely, in my view, what he did was violative of that speech or debate clause in the Constitution. Did he commit a crime? Did he, I don't know. Did he violate the canons? Should he be subject to at least professional misconduct? Should he be sanctioned by the IRDC? Should he be disbarred? Yes, I think so. Whether or not he committed a crime under federal statutory law, it's not clear to me. That's something that Pam Bondi and her team are going to have to figure out. But that back and forth between Gill and Smith was important and elucidating. Tony, Downers Grove, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, Dan, there are two women that did a really good job, and I can't remember which ones, but one was in regards to him being tried, or being tried just for the First Amendment, his speech, just being tried for speech alone. And I thought she did a really good job. But it occurred to me that no matter what Trump does, and we've said this, these Democrats are never going to work with Trump. And if I could jump through the screen, I don't know who I'd want to slap more, Eric Swalwell or Jamie Raskin.
Yeah,
I mean,
a couple. By the way, a couple of former prosecutors. To my point,
they just. To me, the Republicans were asking really pointed questions, and I don't think Jack Smith had really good answers. And it was always about he had witnesses that would have said this. That's his whole defense was, well, I had the witnesses. We'll never know, will we? But it seemed to me that Republicans did a pretty good job of exposing who he is.
Thanks for the call, Tony. I agree. Something else, too, and this was an exchange with Jim Jordan. Maybe we'll get to that in more detail later. But these sedition hunters, the FBI making more than $100,000 in payments to informants, members of an anonymous group of tech sleuths known as sedition hunters, to gather and analyze video evidence surrounding J6 and the riot on J6. Sedition hunters. And more than 100,000. The group received at least 150,000 in payments. This is just the news reporting. Group members received at least $150,000 in payments for work and other work related to the Arctic Frost probe. That's Special Counsel Jack Smith's probe. Into whether Trump supporters violated the law by promoting alternate electors to be considered for certification. There was an exchange on that too. The precedent that the alternate slate of electors not unprecedented, as we've discussed when we've delved into this. There's also the suggestion that there may have been foreign actors also paid. When Jack Smith is asked about this in exchange with Jim Jordan, he remembers a $20,000 payment for somebody confidential informant looking at video to assist them in identifying whatever they were trying to identify. But it was very Christopher Wray. I don't really recall Christopher Wray in terms of how many federal agents or FBI assets were at the Capitol on that day. I don't know. I'm not sure. Jack Smith, I don't know about these payments. I'm not sure. I remember $20,000 for a guy to look for some video, but that wasn't me. That was me agreeing to the FBI paying this confidential informant, but I don't know how many people were paid or how much they were paid. I don't really recall. Yeah, right. Not impressive. Not persuasive. Not to, the fair-minded party that wants to go where the evidence leads. All right, coming up at 6:36, we'll fold our friend Selena Zito into conversations about all the chaos that is and the efforts to tone it down. It's 6:36. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is -3 degrees with a wind chill of -25 here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. The big story this morning is the extremely cold weather. Chicago public schools are closed today. Many other schools in the area have chosen to close or go to a virtual option. Now, if you do have to go out, you're encouraged to wear lots of layers, stay fully covered to avoid frostbite, and carry a fully charged cell phone just in case of emergencies. The man accused of offering $10,000 for the death of a Border Patrol chief has been acquitted by a federal jury. Fox's Jessica Rosenthal has more.
Federal prosecutors had charged 37-year-old Juan Espinoza Martinez with murder for hire. He'd sent a Snapchat message of a picture of Gregory Bovino with the words $10,000 if you take him down. The message was sent to his younger brother and an acquaintance who turned out to be a government informant. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
This report is a service of Team Hochberg. They've helped thousands of AM 560 listeners with the best rates and service. Let Team Hochberg help you by visiting 56david.com or call 855-563-2843. That's 56david.com, lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560. The Answer.
Hugh Hewitt explains the protest in Iran.
The regime has banked its money abroad so that it can get to its money even if the regime collapses, and they've been doing that for decades. But in Iran, there is no money that has any value. That's never happened before. The rial has gone to zero, got no value whatsoever. I don't know how people live. I don't know how you keep them out of the streets.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Mike Lindell has a passion to help people get the best sleep of their life. He started by creating the best pillow ever, and right now he is passing the best prices to you when you use promo code LIBERTY. They want to thank you for your continued support by passing on some Christmas specials to our listeners. Get wholesale pricing on the classic My Pillows for $17.98. Transform any mattress with a My Mattress topper and save up to $100. Get a set of Giza sheets for as low as $29.98 or the 6-pack towel set for only $39.98. To get the best specials ever, go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. These offers won't last long, so call 800-489-0201 or go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY. Rest easy remembering that MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty. Call today, 800-489-0201, promo code LIBERTY.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results. Done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com. And schedule your free in-home consultation today.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Logan Fury did something smart. He saved hundreds on auto insurance switching to Progressive. With that money, he bought a mini treadmill. Is walking on it during video conference calls more distracting than he thought? Yes. And is that because he overestimated his foot-eye coordination? Definitely. But it's Logan's savings, and if he wants to burn calories and any chance at a promotion, we say, good for you, Logan. Switch and see if you could save with Progressive and treat yourself. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Hey, it's Scott Jennings inviting you to join me on the unforgettable Gulf of America cruise happening this November 2026. Imagine it. Turquoise waters, white sand, beaches, incredible food, and insightful conversations about the future of our great country. Mike Gallagher and I will dive into the issues shaping America as we cruise through some of the most stunning destinations while honoring the 250th anniversary of our nation. Text cruise to 94878 or visit scottjenningsshow.com and click the cruise banner to sign up today.
File now with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They'll find every credit and deduction or your money back. File in the Credit Karma app.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. You're going to need to warm up your car this morning. It is cold out there in Chicagoland. Traffic is cooperating, though, for the most part. On the Edens, it's 14 minutes both ways from Lake Cook to Montrose. The Kennedy is light, 8 minutes in both directions from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange. You've got 13 minutes in both directions on the Eisenhower from Wolf to the Old Post Office. The Stevenson, that's 24 minutes inbound from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore Drive, 22 minutes on the outbound eastbound side, and the Dan Ryan is 12 minutes in, 10 minutes out from 95th Street to the Burn interchange. This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Pro Savings Days are on at Lowe's. Get up to 35% off select major appliances and up to 50% off select ladders. Don't wait. Shop Lowe's Pro Savings Days deals today. Valid through 1/23. Selection varies by location while supplies last. See associate or Lowe's.com for details. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be breezy and significantly colder with a mix of clouds and sunshine. The high temperature will reach 4 degrees below zero. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies and extremely cold conditions, with temperatures dropping close to the record low of 15 degrees set back in 1897. Breezy conditions are expected to develop late with a low of 11 degrees below zero. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Alpha Wealth Group, bringing the trilogy of estate, tax, and investment planning together. Visit alphawealthgroup.com for a free report.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. On February 24th, President Trump will deliver his State of the Union address to Congress, and AM 560 The Answer is throwing a viewing party. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/party.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Just a postscript on our discussion of Jack Smith's testimony before the House Judiciary Committee yesterday in terms of whether he has potential criminal exposure over an alleged violation of the speech and debate clause of the Constitution as it pertains to members of Congress with the subpoenas he issued for phone records that were not disclosed. He got non-disclosure agreements. What if he made false representations to the court? One of our astute listeners, probably an attorney, I'm guessing, suggested 18 U.S. Code 242, which makes it a crime to willfully deprive another individual of rights or privileges protected by the Constitution. That's an interesting theory. That could have some legs. We'll ask Richard Epstein about that in the next hour. I suppose you would have to have a court inveigh on whether or not, where the lines are, essentially, whether or not Jack Smith's conduct of that sort is violative. And as Brandon Gill mentioned in the cross-examination of Smith, the court's never weighed in on that, on what he did, and the Department of Justice has changed policy. So does that indicate a desire to steer clear of that because it's just bad practice and it was a bad precedent, he said, and it opens the door for more lawfare in the form of prosecutors, Department of Justice prosecutors or special counsels spying on members of Congress, and Department of Justice thought better of it, or their belief that what he did was unconstitutional, bad policies and practices that needed to be improved, or a belief that it's unconstitutional, and could you get a court agree to the latter, that would set Jack Smith up for potential prosecution. Good questions. I think it's unclear. But I suspect that Pam Bondi is going to err on the side of being aggressive after the testimony that he gave. One other legal matter to fold in here, now going back to the matter of immigration. Sort of an important piece that was posted by the General Counsel for Department of Homeland Security amid what you hear, from the Open Borders Abolish ICE crowd. They have, a couple of lines that they just rinse and repeat. They really don't have there's really no demonstrated underlying understanding of what they're saying, probably because there isn't an underlying understanding. But talk about warrants. Oh, if you have a warrant, if you have this and you have that, then you're allowed. But you can't just do this and you can't just do that without a warrant. Well, here's what you can do. So pay attention and pass on to your friends. Here's what you can do if you're enforcing federal immigration law. As Jimmy Percival writes in the Journal, yes, the Fourth Amendment is an essential safeguard for Americans' privacy and personal liberty, and its protections must not be eroded. But they also must not be misappropriated by those seeking to subvert legitimate law enforcement, which the left has done for decades, particularly in the area of immigration enforcement, he writes. there have been reports about ICE officers using administrative warrants, so-called administrative warrants in Minnesota, to arrest illegal immigrants with final orders of removal in their homes. And that is legal. That is not, these are only administrative orders. It's sort of the same way they say that entering the country illegally isn't a crime, except it is. And the administrative orders are lawful orders for federal law enforcement to enforce. Illegal aliens don't have the same rights as citizens. This just in. I know that's shocking to the sanctuary jurisdiction crowd, but that's true. Under federal immigration law, officers may issue an administrative warrant, which means that the probable cause finding is made by an executive branch officer rather than a judicial officer, which is consistent with the broad judicial recognition that illegal immigrants aren't entitled to the same Fourth Amendment protections as the U.S. This is Supreme Court case law. While administrative warrants may satisfy the Fourth Amendment for any arrest of an illegal alien, ICE currently uses these warrants to enter an illegal alien's residence only when the alien has received a final order of deportation from an immigration judge. That means that the illegal immigrant has already seen a judge, presented his case, received due process, and has been ordered removed from the country. In this context, illegal immigrants are fugitives from justice. And the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals, which has jurisdiction over Minnesota, has expressly recognized that administrative warrants may be used to enter a residence to capture a fugitive. So all this caterwauling about no due process and violations of the Fourth Amendment and extra constitutional police squads or death squads or Nazi squads or whatever ad hominem they direct this way, totally baseless. Totally baseless. Under the law, under the Constitution, per Supreme Court jurisprudence. Seems like this is something very important to get into the conversation in terms of trying to enhance understanding here. And as we talked about a bit earlier in the show, J.D. Vance was there yesterday in Minnesota to extend an olive branch.
One of the things I learned is that the guys behind me are doing an incredible job, and frankly, a lot of the media is lying about the job that they do every single day. Now, it doesn't mean that there aren't occasionally stories out there, there aren't occasionally videos out there that suggest that these guys, or at least some of the people who work for them, are not doing everything right. But very often, if you look at the context of what's going on, you understand that these people are under an incredible amount of duress, an incredible amount of chaos, and because of a few very far left agitators, a lot of these guys are unable to do their jobs without being harassed, without being doxxed, and sometimes without being assaulted. That's totally unacceptable. And that's one of the things that I want to send a message to is, yes, come out and protest me, protest our immigration policy, but do it peacefully. If you assault a law enforcement officer, the Trump administration and the Department of Justice is going to prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law.
For more on all this and other topics, Selena Zito joins us, national political reporter. You can always check out her latest reporting at selenazito.com. She's also the author of Butler, The Untold Story of the Near Assassination of Donald Trump and the Fight for America's Heartland. Her new book, Butler. Pick it up. Selena, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
Just on the matter of the attempt to turn down the chaos, as J.D. Vance said yesterday. Did you? What did you make of Vance being dispatched to Minnesota to, in my characterization, extend an olive branch to the state and locals, whether or not they accept it?
Well, I think his comportment and the way he handled the questions, not rising to the bait. If anybody listened to all of the questions that were that he took, a lot of them were hostile, like had preconceived, like had they put their answers that they wanted in the questions.
How about like are you proud of yourself? I mean, that's a real balanced question, right? Yeah.
And I thought to myself, my editor would kill me if I asked questions in that way, because I'm putting my opinion rather than what is going on as the question. So I thought that he wisely did not rise to the bait. His comportment was calm. It was empathetic. He hedged, or not he hedged. He didn't shy away from possible problems happening here or there and the human element because of it. I thought overall, I thought it was a great way to handle the situation. I knew he was going to be doing this press conference, and I knew what time it was going to be. So I made the effort to go and sit at a local sort of diner restaurant, because I know they always have the news on, and just watch people's reaction. And I got the same sense from people watching it that he brought the temperature down. And the people that are allegedly leading the state are stoking the fire. And I don't know how anybody thinks that's acceptable in that city, other than they can't see past their own biases.
Right, and I think there's some sort of on the center left that want the left to be better and more successful, that are essentially saying the same thing. Is like, this is not first of all, this is not the civil rights movement. This isn't even George Floyd, and you're way overplaying your hand.
Well, and there's a lot on the left that don't want the temperature brought down. Mm-hmm. These are this isn't just me guessing. I've been at this job for a very long time. These are, I'm sure there are community people that are involved, but overall, these are very organized events. They are done within the structure of an organization. This is not a, sort of come from the bottom grassroots moment where people are coming out because of their, they feel strongly about something. That doesn't mean there isn't a portion of it, but the entire infrastructure of these events are like that. There's going to be one today in Pittsburgh, and they plan on occupying a Target store, going inside it, and I think that's not going to work out well for them.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, it's really interesting you say that, because it struck me that what you just said. I mean, just strikes me as so spot on, and I'm reminded of this clip I just saw the other day. Rahm Emanuel on NPR pitching his wares. He's a presidential aspirant, and he's trying to be the guy who's like willing to say some uncomfortable truths to the left, like boys can't become girls. Wow, it's so powerful. Yep. Yeah, right. But I mean, he's trying to run in the lane that nobody's occupying right now on their side. But even he can't resist things like this.
I think corporate America here, I'll say it here, is I think they've sold out America, and America is loyal to them. And what I mean by that is, you benefit from a nation built on laws. And you're watching from the sideline a nation being destroyed and walking away from the rule of law. Everything you have is built on the premise of the rule of law. Number two, the president's declared war on the greatest research system in the world it's ever seen. And your company is a direct beneficiary of that. And you're like the three monkeys: see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. You are timid souls.
So, I mean, first of all, everything Rahm Emanuel has is from being a corporatist. I mean, so it's laughable that he is, corporate America is my bête noire. I mean, this is him trying to find a way to credentialize himself with the street revolutionaries that really are center mass for that party.
What Emanuel's trying to do, and by the way, I will never take away how brilliant his moves were in 2006 during those midterm elections. He wisely picked centrist Democrats, in particular my state in Pennsylvania, that were pro-life and pro-gun and supported the war in Iraq, right? So he understands how you win. he understands how you don't win as a Democrat, and he understands that if he's going to run for president or be a leading voice for the Democrats in leading up to 2026, that you can't run against Trump because you need those voters that left the Democrats and went to the Republicans. This is my long way of saying that corporate America is going to be the bad guy, not Trump, in former Congressman for Mayor Rahm Emanuel.
Well, I get that, but I'm just saying, in a vacuum, that's probably a good place. But but I'm just saying it's so they're so over the edge that Rahm Emanuel feels the need. I mean, that may be his positioning. But they know him. He's not going to be able to sell it, in my view. And we know him in Chicago very well, of course. But it is so disingenuous. It is so performative. But he knows he needs to, at least have some place where he's going to be strident that aligns with the target sit-ins. It's just not going to sell. But I mean, it just shows no matter who you are, you have to sell to that audience in order to make it in that party.
Right. What he wants to do is have a populist wing that's more center within his party.
Yeah.
And so corporations become, you always have to have a contrast, right? And you always have to be running against something. It's not going to work against running against Trump, because what ends up happening is you sort of degrade the people that voted for him, and they're not going to come to your side. So, okay, let's pick something that everybody can not like, and let's pick corporate America, forgetting that there's going to be scrutiny on what your involvement has been with corporate America.
Yeah, I mean, it's Trump right now running against health insurance companies, running against the big banks and the credit card, annual percentage rates and so forth. It's the same sort of populism.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Populism works because our cultural curators in institutions, corporations, academia, legacy Hollywood, legacy media, has the perception on both sides of having failed the American people. So that populism is going to be within both parties. Who does it effectively and with a way to sway the voter? That's going to be the challenge.
Selena Zito, national political reporter. You can always get her writings at selenazito.com. And do pick up her latest book, Butler, The Untold Story of the Near Assassination of Donald Trump and the Fight for America's Heartland. Selena, thank you as always.
Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Bye. And Selena joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Stay tuned for a special message from Angel Dad Joe Abraham about his daughter Katie.
Put yourself in my shoes. I just spent my first Christmas without Katie. My daughter was murdered by an illegal immigrant Governor Pritzker protected. Imagine her final breaths, knowing that you would have given your life for hers, but you didn't have the chance. Put your child in Katie's shoes. Think of the unfulfilled dreams, the unrealized joys, and the permanent loss. I'm not a political guy, but when politicians unleash violent criminals, we all need to get involved. We can do better, and we must do better. Ted Dabrowski would have protected Katie, and he'll protect your children the way I wish someone had protected mine.
I'm Ted Dabrowski, and I approve this message.
Looking for some hope? Listen to Leading the Way with Dr. Michael Youssef on our sister station, AM 1160, Hope for Your Life. Weekday mornings, starting at 8. News News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
From New Mexico to New England, I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Millions of Americans prepping for a blast of winter.
If the storm comes in as predicted, it will take time for roads to be cleared and passable.
Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger declared a state of emergency. Many other governors have done the same.
This is going to be a big, impactful event.
That's Ken Graham, director of the National Weather Service, who tells Fox some areas will get over a foot of snow.
It's not just the snow. In some places, it's the snow, and it'll be sleet and ice. We're going to have large areas of sleet, with making travel absolutely hazardous.
And thick ice could coat areas from Texas to the Carolinas. There's an anti-ice protest planned in Minnesota today, but not the weather kind. Angry over immigration enforcement raids, organizers are calling for people to skip work and school and not shop. The day after Vice President Vance went to Minneapolis.
Come out and protest me, protest our immigration policy, but do it peacefully. If you assault a law enforcement officer, the Trump administration and the Department of Justice is going to prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law.
There's another big demonstration today in Washington, the annual March for Life. Thousands will gather speaking out against abortion. The day after President Trump created the Board of Peace at the World Economic Forum that some U.S. allies refused to join, he went on Truth Social disinviting Canada.
Prime Minister Carney had said during his speech Tuesday at the World Economic Forum, the era of American dominance is no longer working for countries like his and others.
We are in the midst of a rupture, not a transition.
President Trump, in his speech on Wednesday,
Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements.
Carney responds in a national address. Canada doesn't live because of the United States. Canada thrives because we are Canadian.
Fox's Chris Foster. Speaking of peace, in the attempt to stop the war in Ukraine, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff goes from Moscow, where he talked to Russia's leader after a Trump meeting with Ukraine's president. Witkoff goes to the United Arab Emirates, holding talks with officials from Ukraine and Russia in the same room. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is -6 degrees, but it feels like -28 here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. We are under an extreme cold warning that is in effect until noon today. You're advised to stay inside if at all possible. If you do have to go outside, you're advised to dress in lots of layers, as frostbite can set in as little as 10 minutes. One day after an Illinois state representative said there's no budget transparency from J.B. Pritzker's office, the governor's Office of Management and Budget has identified $481.6 million in reserves. Jim Talamonte has the story.
The governor issued an executive order last September directing state agencies to reserve up to 4% of their general fund appropriations. State Rep. Amy Alex said that Republican requests for agency findings were denied.
When one party controls the process with no input from others, the result is bloated budgets.
Illinois House Minority Leader Tony McCombie said a lot more than $481 million went to people who are in the country illegally. Governor Pritzker's office said the reserves were identified to mitigate fiscal risk amid economic uncertainty.
Maintenance workers will be patrolling the tollways this weekend as this bitter cold continues in our region. Officials with the Illinois Tollway say workers will have jacks on them as well as gas to help stranded motorists. Officials remind you to make sure that you have at least a half a tank of gas in your vehicle, extra water, blankets, and a fully charged cell phone if you do have to be out on the roadways. And if you need to be rescued, you can call 999 and the tollways will send a worker out to assist you. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
On February 24th, President Trump will deliver his State of the Union address to Congress.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
And AM 560 The Answer is throwing a viewing party, and you're invited to join us for dinner at the Meridian Banquets and Conference Center in Rolling Meadows. Enjoy dinner before the speech, and then watch the speech with AM 560's Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, Jeannie Ives, Amy Jacobson, and John Anthony. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/party. Sponsored in part by Stephen A. Leahy with Opum Tax Advocates. Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560, The Answer.
At Access One, we don't take chances with your technology, and we put $10,000 behind our assessment to prove it. Our mission is to strengthen your IT security and resilience, backed by over 30 years of experience, serving organizations across the Midwest. And here's the deal. If we can't find even one measurable way to improve your technology or security posture based on NIST or CIS security frameworks, we'll write you a check for $10,000. This free confidential risk assessment is available for businesses with 25 to 500 employees and is designed to validate your IT performance against recognized security regulations. No gimmicks, just a confident promise from a partner who knows technology. Ready to take the challenge? Visit accessoneInc.com/challenge or call 800-654-1555. Certain conditions apply. See details online.
Progressive Commercial knows truckers can expect the unexpected when driving, but a little heads up like this would still be nice.
Breaker, truck driver. I'm the local meteorologist. Just letting you know I got the days mixed up and a little bit of hail is coming. Over. Actually, it's a hailstorm. My bad. Over.
Be ready for the unexpected with primary liability limits up to $2 million on our specialty heavy truck coverage. Get a quote at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, covered subject to terms and limits.
Welcome to the most wonderful time of the year, when millions of Americans open their credit card statements, scream in terror, and start looking for new ways to save money. If that's you, why not cut your wireless bill in half with a saver plan from Pure Talk? You'll get unlimited talk, text, and 3 gigs of high-speed data on a super-fast 5G network for just $20 a month. Ho, ho, ho. Just dial pound 250, say micro, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team will help you switch in minutes. Again, talk, text, and data for just $20 a month.
I can't believe how much better Dad's doing since we brought on Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest.
I know. He's more engaged, more himself. It makes such a difference having him right here at home. Around the photos, his old record player, his favorite recliner, all the little things he knows. That familiarity really matters with dementia.
And their caregivers, they're just incredible. They treat him with so much patience and respect.
Plus, they helped us tap into a Medicare program that offers 80 hours of respite care for Alzheimer's and dementia.
We're not worried anymore, and Dad gets to stay where he's happiest, at home.
Trust the caregivers at Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, serving Cook, DuPage, Kane, Kendall, and Will counties. You can call them 24/7 at 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care only better.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. You don't want to break down in this cold. With the extreme cold watch in effect, make sure your car is tuned up and up to date before you head out that door. Now, traffic is moving along nicely on the Edens, 14 minutes both ways from Lake Cook to Montrose. The Kennedy has some slow spots inbound between Foster Avenue and Central Avenue, but overall just 8 minutes both ways from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange. It's 13 minutes in both directions on the Eisenhower from Wolf to the old post office. On the Stevenson, a little bit sluggish between Ashland Avenue and the Dan Ryan. It's 23 minutes both ways between Veterans Memorial and Lakeshore Drive, and the Dan Ryan is 13 minutes inbound from 95th to the Byrne Interchange, 11 minutes outbound. This report is a service of the Daily Podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and the Sean Thompson Show. Hear both shows with limited commercials when you subscribe for free to the Daily Podcast at 560theanswer.com/podcast. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be breezy and significantly colder with a mix of clouds and sunshine. The high temperature will reach 4 degrees below zero. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies and extremely cold conditions, with temperatures dropping close to the record low of 15 degrees set back in 1897. Breezy conditions are expected to develop late with a low of 11 degrees below zero. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Scott Tucker Solutions and his show Retirement Decoded. Sunday mornings at 8. Learn more at scotttuckersolutions.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I got a text from Bob in Buffalo Grove with a screenshot of the temperature on the dashboard of his car, temperature reading -9. Don't you love the news, too, the mindless news, including, unfortunately, our own? Officials are saying don't go out, but if you have to go out, make sure to wear layers and cover your extremities. Thank you. If you don't know how to deal with the cold, even the unholy cold inflicted on Chicago today, at this point, as an adult or as somebody with who is a custodian of children, then there are bigger problems afoot that public officials may need to deal with. Anyway, I digress. Before we get to the topics of law and order that are consuming everyone's attention today, the Jack Smith testimony before the House Judiciary Committee, the arrests made in Minnesota, and the larger issue of federal immigration law enforcement. I do want to take up this gun case out of Hawaii that the Supreme Court took up this week. I mean, it's important. The gun banners that are still in charge of states like Hawaii, they will not stop. They'll take what they can get when it comes to your constitutional rights, like your right to protect yourself. So they have this vampire rule, the so-called vampire rule in Hawaii, where for a gun owner to carry a firearm on private property that is otherwise generally open to the public, they must receive express permission from the property owner. And other states have this too, which is, I'm sure, why the Supreme Court granted cert. The challenge to the law, the argument is not a particularly complicated one, given Supreme Court jurisprudence through Bruin from 2022. They argue it should be up to the property owners to decide if guns are not or are permitted on their properties or not. And so in oral arguments, I mean, this is sort of wild. I guess I should mention the holding in Bruin, 6-3 decision, in which the court held, with Thomas writing the majority opinion, that, I'm quoting from the opinion, when the Second Amendment's plain text covers an individual's conduct, here the right to bear arms, the Constitution presumptively protects that conduct. The government must then justify its regulation by demonstrating that it is consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. Only then may a court conclude that the individual's conduct falls outside the Second Amendment's unqualified command. So, thinking about these vampire laws, is that consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation? I must receive express permission from a private property owner whose property is open to the public in order to carry a gun on said property, or it's presumptively my right to do so, up to the discretion of the private property owner to decide categorically whether guns are allowed or not allowed on their property. Well, Ketanji Brown Jackson took an interesting approach to try to find a way to make the Hawaii vampire law and similar laws in other states comport with Bruin. And this is her exchange with Sarah Harris, who's a Deputy Solicitor General for the United States.
Justice Jackson?
So I guess I really don't understand your response to Justice Gorsuch on the black codes. I mean, I thought the black codes were being offered here under the Bruin test to determine the constitutionality of this regulation. And it's because we have a test that asks us to look at the history and tradition. The fact that the black codes were at some later point determined themselves to be unconstitutional doesn't seem to me to be relevant, to the assessment that Bruen is asking us to make. So can you say more about that?
Absolutely. Black codes were unconstitutional from the moment of their inception because they are pretextual laws that are designed to ensure that newly freed slaves are returned to a condition of sharecropping.
Okay, let me stop you there. They were not deemed unconstitutional at the time that they were enacted. They were part of the history and tradition of the country. And when we have a test now that's asking us to look at what people were doing back then, I don't understand why they should be excluded.
Because they are outliers. They are by definition unconstitutional. They have
found later,
unconstitutional.
Afterwards, not at the time. And if the test says what's happening at the time tells us what's constitutional for this purpose, why aren't they in?
Respectfully, a law is always unconstitutional. When it's from its inception,
So the history doesn't matter. We shouldn't care about the history then.
We should deeply care about the history, but the whole point of the Bruen framework is as follows. The history and tradition of the Second Amendment are particularly important because it is codifying a pre-existing right. To figure out in sort of common law fashion what the national history and tradition are, you throw out outliers. And I can think of no greater outlier than blatantly unconstitutional laws that flipped what had been the tradition in states like Louisiana. And during the period before those states were readmitted to the Union, for the purpose of trying to reduce newly freed slaves back to conditions of servitude, made it a new crime, new trespass, in order to go about armed on private property. Those are obvious outliers.
All right,
that should not count under the whole point of Bruen.
Mr. Katyal, address it.
I mean, that's KBJ is willing to defend the defend black codes, that is, as the means to shoehorn a Hawaii vampire law into the historical traditions of firearm regulation in America. That's something. I mean, that's real commitment to banning guns, I'll tell you that, or infringing on Second Amendment rights, in my view. But let's get the expert opinion of one Professor Richard Epstein, the James Parker Hall Distinguished Service Professor, Emeritus of Law, and Senior Lecturer at the University of Chicago. Professor Epstein, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
This woman is absolutely surreal. One of the sad things about it is he actually reads closely the 14th Amendment. It's a much more conservative document than you might have otherwise have thought. One of the reasons that it passed is it guaranteed in its own terms that the federal government would not regulate voting, a provision which has been overturned by subsequent cases. The 14th Amendment, when it came through, was an amalgam of old practices and new practices. And I've just written a book on it in connection with birthright citizenship, and it's a very mixed record, which is exactly what you would expect. So it doesn't get rid of the 3/5 clause. What it says is if you want to keep blacks out of the numerator, you have to keep them out of the denominator. And thereby you can keep the same, you have segregation, but you can't have the same population ratio. There are lots of things like that. But let me put it to the following way. I don't think that the Bruen test is utterly authoritative because there are some problems that never arose at one time or another. And a law like this has never been seen in the face of the globe. And let me start to explain why it is just as a matter of independent common sense. You have a place, and it's called public property. And the question you want to ask is, what do you think the default position should be? And the answer is it should be the position that comports with the ordinary understanding of the way in which people do business. And so you look at any kind of case, any way you look at it, if you have a piece of property and you want people to stay off of it, you say, do not enter private property and so forth. There's never been a case in my history of the world where if you want to go on somebody's private property, you have to get the consent before you can do so if they've not indicated to the otherwise. Now, notice they didn't say breaking and entering into a store. Suppose I want to take a shortcut at the corner and I go across a privately owned parking lot. I'm now supposed to find the owner of the parking lot. I tell him, I have a gun and I would like to be able to cross your property. And he can come back, or the state can come back and say, you entered the property to get the permission, but you didn't have the permission when you entered the property. You were hereby guilty of a felony. Now, you mentioned this as the landowner and the victim and the owner of the property. You have to understand this in context. You're not going to need one person's property. You want to walk 10 miles in the course of the city. you're going to have 1,000 people with whom you're going to have to negotiate.
Right.
Because each of them has the veto power under this particular statute. Now, no private party will enforce this because they're not as insane as the government of Hawaii is. But the criminal fixers can, in effect, put these things into play. So this is what you have to say is history and tradition. This is basically a sneaky, underhanded way to ban the use of guns in Hawaii. Because the moment you have to get the billion positions from that, if you get 99% of the people to consent, a miracle in itself, and one person doesn't, you're a criminal. And so you just look at this case, and it certainly comes out the way you said under Bruen, but it also, I think, is pretty clear. It comes out the same way if we just treated this as a matter of ordinary common sense of how property law is organized. Now, there were cases like this with the Jehovah's Witnesses a long time ago, and there they said exactly the same thing. If you don't want to come on the property, please put a sign at the steps before you enter the property so they won't do it. Most people don't put it down on the street. They put it at the door. And so you're like not a trespasser until you see the sign, at which point then you have to leave. And that system works perfectly well. What they are trying to do is essentially use a system of ostensible private choice, liberty of choice and so forth, to effectuate a agenda, which is a de facto ban on the use of guns in the state. This case is a no-brainer. The black codes have nothing whatsoever to do with this. And she was wrong about that. I mean, if she actually knew something about the 14th Amendment, she would realize that there's very powerful evidence that they did not want to do the kinds of things which we now routinely assign to the 14th Amendment, which is to regulate voting rights and to prohibit segregated schools. That was not part of their agenda. They had a very different agenda. What they wanted to do is to make sure private people could enter contracts, and they wanted to make sure that the enforcement of the criminal law did not prejudice back individuals. They got equal protection of the law, and they got due process of the law like everybody else. It was a great achievement to do that, but it wasn't what she was talking about. And so the analogy she's making is just nuts.
Okay. I mean, I figured we'd give that short shrift, but I wanted to bring it to people's attention, so I appreciate that. I want to turn to Jack Smith. And, one of the central parts of the cross-examination of Jack Smith by members of Congress yesterday, in my view, was this issue of the speech or debate clause, Article 1, Section 6 of the Constitution, and whether or not Jack Smith's subpoenaing of the phone records of members of Congress and getting an NDO, non-disclosure order, so that members of Congress didn't know and the public didn't know, whether that was violative of Article 1, Section 6, the speech and debate clause. Because if it was, then you potentially have both professional misconduct exposure as well as criminal legal exposure. And so what is your view on what Jack Smith conceded he did and the characterization of that being violative of Congress people's constitutional rights, as was argued by Brandon Gill and others?
Look, I think that the speech and debate clause is very strange because it really extends beyond speech and debate on the floor. It covers all activities that is incident to that thing taking place. And so by that case, to the extent that they're working on professional business related to this stuff in Congress, I think he's wrong. And also, I think another ground. One of the things that you have to understand about this man is he says that nobody's above the law. And what he means by that is nobody I prosecute is above the law. I'm always above the law because I can do whatever I want and you can't stop it.
Right.
But I didn't think that Jim Jordan gave the correct answer. When, Trump said it's just normal criminal procedure to take anybody and get all their records and to conceal them. The Speaker of the House, who was not even Speaker of the House at the time that this happened, is not just anybody. And so the correct way in which you have to run all of these decisions is to say the following. Is this the guy you want to go for the beginning? And the correct answer is no. What you have to do is first take people who are much closer to the event in their kind of trial, examine their records, and if something in that points to Kevin McCarthy, and you can do it. Excuse me. What's missing in this case is no sequencing whatsoever about how this was done. This is not a first-round cut that you do, and Smith should never have done it unless he had some good reason to believe that these guys were implicated in events which on the face of the things they were not. So if he wants to go after my friend John Eastman, if he was there at the time, sure, you can go after him. Excuse me. I don't believe that you can go after him and try to keep it concealed from them. I think that the normal rules say you have to get notice of somebody else so they can defend themselves. If you give this as a secret offer, then in effect, nobody can move to try to quash it before it is accomplished. And that is just absolutely unacceptable in the way in which you run procedures.
Well, so
I don't think
but
they didn't do a very good job attacking Smith. They let him get off much too easily.
Well, but I mean, if your view is that what he did was wrong, it was wrong in what sense? It was wrong in the sense of the canons. It was wrong in the sense of federal statutory law, deprivation of constitutional rights. How was it wrong?
All of the above.
Look, what? Okay, so he does have exposure.
I don't think I think he should. I think it's a violation of the due process clause to go after these kinds of provisions. Due process is always a trade-off, and one of the things that you have to do is, why are you going after this guy? Is this a fishing expedition or is it not? Right. And the only way to go after this guy is to first find somebody who's been directly involved in the event, for whom depositions and inquiries and record collection are appropriate. And then when you look at that, you see the fingerprints of Kevin McCarthy over it. Then you can go after him. But under this point, every member of Congress could have been subject to that kind of treatment. Every former member of Congress could have been covered that procedure. So Smith says, I'm above the law because I can choose whom to prosecute. And one of the things that we know about a rule of law is you don't have to secure a conviction in order to destroy somebody's life. What you have to do is file some papers against them, and massive collateral consequences are going to follow. And Smith himself did not acknowledge that. I think he's a very slippery guy. I think he's an able lawyer, but I think he's known to be a tenacious prosecutor who often goes beyond the pale. And in this case, he did it.
My sense of him is, we discussed this a little bit earlier, my sense of him is not so much that he's necessarily partisan, but he falls into the trap that some prosecutors do, which is he's a big game hunter, and you point him at a trophy, and he's going to go get that trophy. And this is the abuse. This is where the abuse of power comes in.
And that's what he did in his prosecution of the governor of Virginia, if you recall. He was roundly denounced by the Supreme Court for his kind of very tough-handed tactic. It's also worse because why did he begin this case? It's because Trump, a couple of days before, had announced that he was running for president. Well, at that point, the incumbent, Joe Biden, who may have had some of his marbles at the time, goes to Merrick Garland and says, we got to get this guy. Yeah. Well, at this particular point, you then have political corruption in the situation. If you recall, Smith also insisted on trying to get a jury verdict out of this case before the election, right? That's also utterly impermissible.
So if you were advising Pam Bondi, based on what we know so far, and there are still areas of inquiry that need to further fleshing out, including these quote-unquote sedition hunters that were paid by the FBI, but would you open a criminal investigation into Jack Smith?
My own view about this is prudential. I don't want anybody to be investigated for anything because I don't trust her any more than I trust him.
I don't want anybody to be investigated for anything. Well, doesn't that make the rule of law difficult?
It makes it very difficult if it turns out there's no separation in practice between the Attorney General and the President. And that was certainly the case both with respect to Biden and Garland and with respect to Trump and anybody he puts in that office, including his longtime buddy, Pam Bondi. And so I think, in effect, the subject that you're talking about is much more serious because there's an entire systematic failure by both parties to have this requisite kind of independence that you need to run an office of the Attorney General is correct. And it's not a question of whether she's appointed or elected.
No,
same thing
I know.
Blame. She's as bad as the others.
I know, but the horse is out of the barn now. I mean,
this is a very argument, and I'm not sure whether you're right. You're absolutely sure. They're doing it this way. We don't do it the other way. What happens with that, of course, is that it means the furrow gets deeper and deeper and deeper.
I know.
And at which point you're going to get total degeneration. And that's always the case with respect to Trump. Nobody thinks it's wrong to go after and to exploit criminals and violence. But then when you set up a quota, then you have to expose so many people per year, you end up arresting grandmothers who were illegal citizens because they came to this country 45 years ago. The prosecution is a matter of balance and judgment. And you look at the kind of characters that we have running these systems on both sides, none of them have that kind of situation. And so we are in for a very long slog of vengeful politics, and Trump is, of course, the master of that. As you know, when all those prosecutions were all going on against him, I denounced them all.
Yes.
I mean, I couldn't believe it. Now, in effect, the lesson he learned is you better be stronger than they are and do it even more outrageously.
Well, but the problem, of course, is, I mean, the politics of this is, of course, you have the left out there right now saying, just wait till we get power again. Wait till we win the midterms. Wait till you see what we're going to do to you next. And so, you know, I mean, if you don't take your shots where you can legitimately, even if, you know, prudence in a different time and would suggest otherwise, if you don't take legitimate shots you can take under the law, then you're just essentially sacrificing yourself on the pyre of the left.
Essentially, the argument you are making is I cannot change the rules of the game that they have established and which they have promised to enforce after you're out of office. And as a pragmatic matter, there's nothing I can say to you, Mr. Prof, have you lost your mind? I'm saying it's a really tough call.
Yeah, it
but
is.
The way I would try to do it in the middle is before I went on any of these prosecutions, I would make it clear to the public, here are a lot of guys who are marginal. I'm not going to prosecute them. Here's some guy who's really serious. I'm going to prosecute this one. And that shows that I've exercised some degree of judgment, not to simply throw everything at everybody that I can get. That's why it's so dangerous to have them prosecute Jim Comey for statements he made just before the statute of limitations ran. Why he gets judges into these places who are bounced by the court. The way in which Trump could make your claim red is to first prune down his tree. And so he goes after people and announces why I'm going after this person and why I'm not going after this other person. But he's just incapable of making those kinds of judgments. So the answer is you want me to be the prosecutor because I'm going to turn down some cases, right, and accept others. I'm not going to go after everybody who puts on a pair of pants in the morning and goes to work. That's the tragedy. So essentially what you have is dial back, but you don't have to shut off.
Professor Richard Epstein, James Parker Hall, Distinguished Service Professor Emeritus of Law, Senior Lecturer at the University of Chicago. Professor Epstein, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
It was always a fun to be with you, Dan.
You too, and Professor Epstein joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Perhaps you're a collector, or perhaps all of a sudden you have a collection. Maybe it's an inheritance. How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donley Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donley Auctions. With their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions, they have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonleyAuctions.com and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donley does and how much they need your collection. They have so many buyers, it's a great time to sell. Just simply make a phone call. Donley has traveled all over the country to pick up collections. Just call and talk to the people at Donley Auctions at 815-923-7000. Donley Auctions is your trusted partner in turning your collections into cash. DonleyAuctions.com.
AM 560. The Answer.
Coming up at 7:37. We'll turn our attention locally. A small business survey conducted by the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce is out. What small business owners are thinking about the near term in Chicago in terms of the optimism about the business climate. That's at 7:37. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is -7 degrees with a wind chill factor of -29 here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. CTA Acting President Nora Learson says she uses the public transportation system with her children, and as such, safety matters to her. She spoke with community leaders yesterday where she says CTA has a strong partnership with local law enforcement to help bring down crime rates and protect riders. However, the federal government has given CTA until March to come up with a comprehensive plan to curb crime throughout the system or face losing up to $50 million in federal funding. The Chicago Bears could be one step closer to becoming the Indiana Bears. Indiana Senate Appropriations Committee has formally established the Northwest Indiana Stadium Authority. If passed by the state Senate, the new board would be given the authority to find and purchase land and finance construction for a stadium, which would be leased to the Bears. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
He's tried to mellow out,
For what reason, nobody knows.
but it didn't take.
Let me guess.
Sean Thompson.
It's not political party per se. It's character. And every decent American should be outraged at the idea that this goes unreported for a decade. It is unfracking believable that every decent American doesn't want to light the torches.
The Sean Thompson Show. Weekday afternoons at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Croscom.
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Croscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Croscom.
Call Croscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Croscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Croscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Croscom.
Croscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Croscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high-quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CroscomPublicAdjusters.com.
This news alert is brought to you by Secure Controls Incorporated. With no signs of retail theft slowing down, organized retail crime now impacts the overall economy with losses trending toward over $150 billion by 2026. It's important now more than ever to send a message to thieves. If you're a VP or Director of Loss Prevention or Asset Protection, you already are aware of these alarming statistics. How can you protect your inventory and get back to rising profitability? It only takes one click to secure.com. That's SE-KURE.com. With active anti-theft security solutions and products from Secure Controls, you're assured state-of-the-art protection of your merchandise. Secure will keep thieves second-guessing and provide peace of mind to your employees. Check out our products manufactured in the USA. From electronic sensors and alarms to mechanical and clothing security to customized solutions, we're the original inventors of anti-shoplifting products. Request our product catalog today at secure.com, SE-KURE.com, or call 800-250-9265.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results, done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com, and schedule your free in-home consultation today.
Don't risk losing the news, sports, and weather that AM radio delivers. When cell and internet service fail, AM is your lifeline. With time running out, your voice matters. Text AM to 39179 and tell Congress vote yes on the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act to keep AM radio in cars.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. We do have some trouble on the Kennedy inbound. Slow from the Hubbard Street Tunnel to Monroe Street. A car slid off the road and hit a wall. And the express lanes, you're hitting the brakes from Ogden Avenue to Ohio Street, but overall, traffic is light, just 10 minutes both ways from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange. The Edens, that's 15 minutes in both directions from Lake Cook to Montrose. The Eisenhower looks good, 14 minutes both ways from Wolf to the Old Post Office. No major problems on the Stevenson. It's about 23 minutes in and out from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore, and looking great on the Dan Ryan. 12 minutes both ways from 95th to the Byrne Interchange. This report is sponsored by Rasmussen University. At Rasmussen University, not only can you pursue your education goals with dedicated support, but when you get started on campus, you could qualify to pursue them with a new laptop. Learn more at rasmussen.edu. That's rasmussen.edu. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be breezy and significantly colder with a mix of clouds and sunshine. The high temperature will reach 4 degrees below zero. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies and very cold conditions as the temperature drops close to the record low of 15 degrees set back in 1897. It'll become breezy later on with a low of 11 degrees below zero. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. You know, I hate to have to tell this story over and over again with new information. It's the same story with new data because we keep making the same choices in Illinois. So why would you expect something to change? The Census Bureau released state-to-state migration estimates this week for 2024, that is. The estimate is that 83,000 Illinoisans left the state on net. Illinois lost residents to 32 states and Washington, D.C. Most lost residents went to Florida, nearly 12,000. Close second was Indiana, with also nearly 12,000. Wisconsin, with nearly 10,000. Missouri, a little bit more than 7,000. Tennessee, almost 7,000. In total, Illinois is about sort of a split decision. About 37,000 residents went to neighboring states, and 46,000 went to states further away, not neighboring states. But one common factor, and this has been the story literally for 15 years. Going back to a survey that the Paul Simon Institute did down at SIU, that's got to be close to that old. I'm going from memory. That half of the population wanted to leave. 15 years ago. Half the population of Illinois, if they could move, they would. They're going to move or they wish they could. You know, they want to leave. Half of those surveyed. And the number one reason? Taxes. The number one, well, not necessarily the number one reason, but you can sort of extrapolate that as the number one reason. 95% of the 83,000 Illinoisans who left net loss of 83,000 people. I know. Jelly Belly tells us we're a growing state, vibrant, and we're a magnet, so on and so forth. Okay, well, you know, you argue with the data then, if that's what you want to believe. Just part of the reason we have to talk about this is because of the beautiful lies that JB and BJ and the neo-Marxist power structure that Illinois has chosen to live under, the beautiful lies they tell. 95% of the 83,000 people who left went to a state with lower taxes, lower state and local and local tax burdens. In point of fact, I mean, I guess you can measure it a few different ways. Considering that Illinois has the highest combined state and local tax burden in the country, actually 100% did. 312-642-5600 is our call-in line and text line if you want to engage on the topic and talk about your eye towards a neighboring state or one further away, or whether you're going to stay and stick it out. On the business side, too, I wanted to get to this. This was rather interesting, I thought. The Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce did a small business survey in conjunction with UIC. And before I get to the results, the universe is interesting in terms of the participants. A plurality of the businesses surveyed had revenue less than $100,000. A majority had revenue under $500,000. Under $1 million was about, in revenue, was about, under $5 million was about 90% of the businesses, a little bit less. So these are really small business. These are your entrepreneurial capitalists that have started a business and are trying to grow a business. Something else that's interesting, the ownership of these businesses that participated in the survey. 57% minority owned. 57% women owned, 32% minority owned. So this was a survey of entrepreneurial capitalists, small business owners starting and trying to grow a business that are from quote unquote marginalized communities. Favorite phrase. Okay. So how are the marginalized communities seeing things in Chicago? The entrepreneurs. 49% of businesses are optimistic that their business will perform just as well, if not better, over the next 12 months. That's down from 71% last year. 30% of businesses expect Chicagoland economy will stay the same or become stronger over the next year. That's down from 57% last year. 54% of the businesses plan to pursue a growth-type strategy over the next year. That's down from 67% last year. So I guess the story that JB and BJ and company are telling about how bright the future is from Illinois if we just stay the course and put our trust in them, I guess that's not selling even in marginalized communities. Those are pretty big drop-offs in optimism about the future as it pertains to their business, which I'm sure is a source of much anxiety for those entrepreneurs. 312-642-5600 if you want to give us a call. Sean in Darien.
Morning. Yes, I want to be in Florida so bad I could taste it. My daughter's a freshman in high school. It pains me, but I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there either in a wooden box or above ground. My in-laws are at Anna Marie Island. I know you're down further south from there. It's a beautiful place. But anything is better than this state. I will never come back. I hate it. I hate Pritzker. I hate Johnson. I hate everything about it. Thanks. Have a great day.
Thanks for the call, Sean. It's pretty comprehensive hatred. Covered a lot of bases there. Text from 312, by the time Illinois and Chicago media finally and grudgingly admit the out-migration, it will already be too late to get out. Well, and said before, too, when you think about this, if you actually look at this, if people were interested enough to spend the time to, not our listeners, that's why you listen to this show, but, you know, those that are part of the hoi polloi and the voracious consumers of JB and BJ's beautiful lies, if they were to look at this, you know, so many of the problems that have been exacerbated over the last 15 years would be much less prodigious if we were just a place people wanted to be. If we were just a place where people said, I have a great quality of life here, I'm staying. Yeah, maybe I'll, go on vacation when it's 4 below zero to Florida for a week or something like that. But no, I'm going to make my way in Chicagoland, Illinois, long term. People aren't saying that. They haven't been saying that for a long time. And I talked to a friend of mine who actually participated in this survey and sent me the survey results. And he was out in Phoenix. And he said, you can't believe the economic activity out here. It is bustling. It's like it's just as vibrant as Miami, if not more so. And, my reaction is, all the economic activity that once took place in Chicago and New York and L.A., it's got to go somewhere. America isn't, giving up hope. America isn't quitting on entrepreneurial capitalism, building a better life for yourself. It's just a lot of Illinoisans have stopped believing that this is the place to do it. And I mean, and if that is an indictment of the people in charge, I don't know what is. And I just don't know what it takes to connect the dots and, speak to, for example, these entrepreneurial capitalists and say, oh, okay, I mean, that is not a rosy outlook you have for Chicago and your business's future. So it's time to change policymakers so we change policy choices, right? Hello? Joe, Southside.
Yeah, good morning, Dan. No, I think it's a brilliant move by JB where he's getting rid of all the voters in Illinois, so when he runs for president, all the voters who will go against him will not be here. He'll definitely win Illinois.
Yeah, well, thanks for the call, Joe. I don't know if you noticed, but they're also trying to move up the primary again. Move up the primary date to make it earlier in the election schedule, like they did for Barack Obama when they moved up the primary from traditionally March to February, front-loaded for Barack Obama's presidential ambitions. JB wants to do the same thing for his, of course. And, move it to February if they want, but back to March, to June, back to March. This is the election integrity squad, Vanguard, right? Same people wringing their hands over redistricting in Texas while they preside over the most gerrymandered electoral map in the country. But again, I don't know. That's an open question. Nobody has cracked the code on on team common sense, on team reality here in terms of how to penetrate the consciousness of the majority into confronting what is and making that difficult choice to say anything we do will be better than this. Anything we do, if we discarded the people in charge, would be better. Can we bring ourselves to do it? Can we bring ourselves to choose a different way of approaching these quality of life issues in Illinois? I don't know. That's why we have elections. We'll find out first in March, then in November. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
With over 50 years of precision tooling, that's a lot of job shop work and custom parts. And it's why Bruscher Machining is the go-to CNC turning and machining company in Chicagoland. If you have a custom project, whether it's a single prototype or a short-run production of a few thousand pieces, give them a call today for your free custom quote. 630-876-1661. That's 630-876-1661. Or visit BruscherMachining.com. That's BRUCHER Machining.com. They also provide heat treating, balancing, plating, and surface coating, welding and fabrication, plus project management. Bruscher Machining guarantees to consistently deliver high-quality parts and solutions on time for reasonable prices. Yeah, everyone says that, but the proof is in the tooling. Stop by to meet their team of seasoned pros and tour the facility located in West Chicago. To learn more about how CNC machining can turn your tough project into an operational reality, contact Bruscher Machining today for your free custom quote, 630-876-1661.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Stay tuned for a special message from Angel Dad Joe Abraham about his daughter Katie.
Put yourself in my shoes. I just spent my first Christmas without Katie. My daughter was murdered by an illegal immigrant Governor Pritzker protected. Imagine her final breaths, knowing that you would have given your life for hers, but you didn't have the chance. Put your child in Katie's shoes. Think of the unfulfilled dreams, the unrealized joys, and the permanent loss. I'm not a political guy, but when politicians unleash violent criminals, we all need to get involved. We can do better, and we must do better. Ted Dabrowski would have protected Katie, and he'll protect your children the way I wish someone had protected mine.
I'm Ted Dabrowski, and I approve this message.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Bob Chivato, owner of Go Exceed and a customer of Signature Bank. By leveraging AI and machine learning, we provide data management solutions for corporations to save time and money managing their cellular devices. While we rely on machines to help us run our business, we believe personal relationships are essential. This is why we chose Signature Bank. Having a banking partner who understands our background, our business, and our priorities is fundamental to our success. Any bank can provide basic services, but having a bank that you can trust, one that looks out for you and treats your business like its own, that's irreplaceable.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
When someone you love is living with memory loss, finding the right care isn't just important, it's everything. At Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace, memory care isn't an add-on, it's all we do.
When Mom moved into Terra Vista, everything changed. She's safe, engaged, and surrounded by people who truly understand dementia. And I finally get to just be her daughter again.
Terra Vista was built specifically for caring for those with Alzheimer's and other types of dementia, with secure indoor and outdoor spaces, innovative therapies, and a community that feels like home. Residents stay active, connected, and respected every single day.
And the best part? Mom can live with dignity, and I have peace of mind.
If memory care is in your future, choose the community designed for it. Choose Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace. Schedule a tour today at terravista.org. Again, that's terravista.org, and tell them AM560 sent you. Terra Vista, where memory care lives.
Is your child tackling new challenges in math this year? Working hard to get ahead of the pack? Here's the good news. There's a secret weapon. Mathnasium, the authority on math education. With over 1,000 learning centers worldwide, we know what it takes to build real confidence in math. Here's what sets us apart. Expert instructors who teach each student individually. No cookie-cutter approach. No rushing through lessons. We create customized learning plans designed specifically for your child's needs, helping them achieve their academic goals, not just this semester, but all year long. Whether they're struggling to catch up or ready to excel, our proven methods work. Kids leave Mathnasium stronger in math, more confident in the classroom, and ready to handle whatever comes next. Visit Mathnasium today and discover why parents trust us with their child's math education. Mathnasium, where kids love math.
The following is a paid political announcement.
This is Kevin Coyne, Chairman of the DuPage County GOP. I am inviting you to our Lincoln Day dinner on Friday, February 27th at Abington Banquets in Glen Ellyn. We will feature keynote speaker and national political commentator Tudor Dixon. Enjoy an evening of camaraderie, great food, and Republican unity. Sponsorship packages are available. Purchase tickets today at DuPageGOP.com. Paid for by DuPage County Republican Central Committee.
Rick Borick talks about the emotions of stock market investing.
At what point would you rethink your decision that you're invested in the stock market? And you'll notice that someone who answered that question 6 months ago saying, I'm not going to panic until it's down 30%, calls you up on the phone and says, it's down 8, what's going on? And I says, what happened to the 30% guy, right?
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
AM 560, The
All right, coming up at 8:08, psychotherapist Jonathan Alpert. No, I'm not going to have my head shrink, but I'd like to see him shrink Michelle Obama's head in absentia. We'll start there. That should be fun. Jonathan Alpert at 8:08 is now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Millions of Americans will be stuck at home this weekend. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. A massive winter storm's coming.
It's a quarter of an inch of ice on the roads, and it creates just havoc everywhere. We're preparing for the worst and hoping for the best.
Brian Kemp in Georgia is one of many governors declaring an emergency in their states. Thick ice could coat areas from the Carolinas back to Texas, where it starts tonight.
Here in Dallas, we could see close to quarter to a half an inch of ice once all is said and done.
Fox weather meteorologist Bain Froney.
This storm system is going to continue to track throughout the entire country, leaving tons and tons of snow in its wake. Areas like Oklahoma City could get up to 8 to 12 inches of snow as we move throughout the weekend. Now, this is going to continue to track up towards the north and the northeast.
It's not just driving that could be treacherous. Airlines are getting ready, waiving change fees for people to reschedule. Not only are there about 400 flights canceled today, there are already more than 1,400 cancellations tomorrow. A day of anti-ice protests planned in Minnesota, where it's frigid, 30 to 40 below zero wind chills. Organizers angry over immigration enforcement raids are urging people not to go to work or school, don't shop, as one protest last Sunday remains under federal investigation.
3 arrests so far from that anti-ice protest that took over a church service last weekend. And I emphasize so far because federal officials say more arrests are coming.
That's Fox's Garrett Tenney in Minneapolis. President Trump posted this morning on Truth Social about his accomplishments at the World Economic Forum, from the framework of a security deal in Greenland to setting up his new Board of Peace. Something President Trump did on day one of term 2 has taken effect, pulling the U.S. out of the World Health Organization,
accusing it of mismanaging the COVID-19 pandemic and being too susceptible to political influence. That withdrawal has now been finalized, with U.S. funding and staffing ceased, although WHO says the U.S. still owes it more than $130 million. The Trump administration says there will be collaboration on disease surveillance and data sharing directly with other countries. And
that's Fox's Chris Foster. America's listening to Fox.
Good morning. It is -8 degrees here in Chicago with a wind chill of 31 below on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. The Chicago area doctor accused of killing his ex-wife and her husband is expected to be arraigned in Ohio today. Michael McKee is facing charges for the shooting death of Monique and Spencer Tepe on December 30th. Today's hearing is also expected to focus on the potential for McKee to be released on bond or held until his trial. The Illinois House has adopted a resolution condemning federal immigration law enforcement actions and calling for prosecutions of personnel who are involved. Jim Talamonte has the story.
State Rep Jamie Andrade introduced House Resolution 622 on Thursday. Andrade said 32 people died in U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement custody in 2025.
Every detention, every abuse, and every murder are the responsibility of Donald Trump and Kristi Noem.
State Rep Patrick Windhorst said there is chaos in sanctuary states like Illinois, where local law enforcement is not working with federal law enforcement.
I do not think we should be passing resolutions condemning law enforcement or condemning elected officials until we take a close look at what we're doing in the state of Illinois with our laws.
That resolution passed with a partisan vote of 69 to 35. And finally, we are under an extreme cold warning that's in effect until noon today. You're advised to stay inside if at all possible. Keep pets inside as much as possible as well. If you do have to go outside, dress in lots of layers to avoid frostbite. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes, but time now for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Gold's price rose to a record again this morning, topping $4,900 a troy ounce. Stock futures are pointing to some pullback after a two-day rally. Oil services company SLB shares are up 1%. The company says it believes the headwinds experienced in key regions last year are behind it. Intel lost money in the recent quarter, the stock down 13%. TikTok has officially established a joint venture to keep it operating in the U.S. Airline stocks are mixed. Carriers are bracing for a weekend of travel chaos from the winter storm expected to dump heavy snow across a large part of the U.S. And Hertz Global is making accommodations for customers who are supposed to return their rentals to a city impacted by the storm. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda. Invested in you.
This week on Capitol Hill is the best way to get informed on everything going on with Congress. Hosted by Tony Perkins and the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
The Republican Party has never, ever played any role whatsoever in the what I think is the monstrosity of Obamacare. The people who designed Obamacare designed it to implode.
Stay informed and become a regular listener. This week on Capitol Hill, Sundays at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
If you or someone you love are getting high quotes for dental implants, visit almostfreeteeth.com today. With a medical PPO insurance plan, it's possible to save 90% off on average to be able to smile again. Check if you qualify now at almostfreeteeth.com.
Progressive Commercial knows truckers can expect the unexpected when driving, but a little heads up like this would still be nice.
Breaker truck driver. I'm the local meteorologist. Just letting you know I got the days mixed up and a little bit of hail is coming. Over. Actually, it's a hailstorm. My bad. Over.
Be ready for the unexpected with primary liability limits up to $2 million on our specialty heavy truck coverage. Get a quote at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, covered subject to terms and limits.
Welcome to the most wonderful time of the year, when millions of Americans open their credit card statements, scream in terror, and start looking for new ways to save money. If that's you, why not cut your wireless bill in half with a saver plan from Pure Talk? You'll get unlimited talk, text, and 3 gigs of high-speed data on a super fast 5G network for just $20 a month. Ho, ho, ho. Just dial pound 250, say micro, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team will help you switch in minutes. Again, talk, text, and data for just $20 a month.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Are you confident your IT systems are rock solid? There could be cracks you don't see. Don't leave your technology to chance. Take the Access One $10,000 challenge to find out. For more than 30 years, Access One has helped businesses strengthen their security, protect their data, and improve resistance to cyber vulnerabilities, all with reliable U.S.-based support. And here's our promise. If our experts can't identify at least one measurable improvement to your IT systems and processes based on NIST or CIS regulations, we'll reward your compliance excellence with $10,000. This free, confidential risk assessment is available to businesses with 25 to 500 employees, and it's a great way to verify your IT is secure and efficient. No gimmicks, just proven results from an experienced IT partner. Ready to put us to the test? Visit accessoneinc.com/challenge or call 800-654-1555 to schedule your assessment today. Certain conditions apply. See details online.
Hello, this is Alistair Begg. In September of 2026, I'll be teaching the Bible as we cruise through the Norwegian fjords. I'd love for you to join me. Call 855-565-5519 or visit deeperfaithcruise.com.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Eller. Going to start on the northbound tri-state. The exit ramp for Halstead Street is closed with police activity. And then further north, you've got some slowdowns approaching the Eisenhower, but the Eisenhower looks great both ways from Wolf Road to the old post office. Watch out for a crash on Lakeshore Drive southbound right at Belmont Avenue. It's taking out one lane. And you also have an accident on the inbound Dan Ryan at 79th Street, but overall it's 14 minutes inbound and 12 outbound between 95th and the Burn interchange. On the outbound side of I-57 at the Cal-Sag Channel, the right lane is blocked all because of another accident, and no major slowdowns right now on the Stevenson, looking good on the Kennedy and the Eden. This report is a service of the AM 560 Advantage. Membership has its privileges, including early access to event tickets, exclusive contest opportunities, and special members-only content. Join today at 560theanswer.com/join. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be breezy and significantly colder with a mix of clouds and sunshine. The high temperature will reach 4 degrees below zero. Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies and extremely cold conditions, with temperatures dropping close to the record low of 15 degrees set back in 1897. Breezy conditions are expected to develop late with a low of 11 degrees below zero. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I want to do a little thing with Jonathan Alpert, our next guest. So let's go to him straight away. Jonathan Alpert is a psychotherapist practicing in New York and Washington. He's the author of the forthcoming book, Therapy Nation, which will be out this May. Jonathan, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, Dan, for having me. Appreciate
All right,
it.
can we? I want to do this thing. I want to lean on your professional expertise as a psychotherapist to help us paint profiles of some people in the news that I think it would just help if we could understand them and sort of understand them maybe as an archetype for a wider representation, a wider group of people in America. Maybe that would help us drive to some sort of understanding of certain political dynamics at play. Can we try this?
Yeah, absolutely. As long as one of those people isn't Candace Owens.
No. But she does need to be under someone's care. All right, let's start with Michelle Obama. Okay, I got two clips from Michelle Obama, and I just want you to paint a profile. Now, this is, we've got obviously a lot of content from Michelle Obama in the public domain, but where she is now in her life, in the almost a decade and a half removed from being the first lady and the bestsellers and the speaking tours, and now her podcast. All right, a couple of clips from Michelle Obama and see if we can give us a little bit of a profile on her. First, Michelle Obama, in terms of what happened to her and her identity when she became first lady.
I was a dean of students. I was like, oh, you guys, all of that just disappeared in the course of this whole election, and you now see me as just Barack Obama's wife. So that made me say, that quickly, my shoes become the most important thing about me, right? And again, not unique to me. It can happen to the best of us. So I shied away from fashion leading the conversation, but I knew I didn't completely control it. So let's lean in.
Okay, so that's one. And she started there talking about her phony baloney job at the University of Chicago where she pretended to be some dean of students, but I digress. So that's her perspective. Okay, who she thinks she is and what happened to her identity when she became first lady and why she didn't want to talk about fashion so much, didn't want to lead the conversation about fashion. But speaking of fashion, one more when it comes to the choices she makes about fashion, ironically, right now.
If I hear of someone whose fashion that I like and I know that they're a person of color, I try to make it a point. But the clothes have to be available. Right. You know, I think we can all do some work to think about that balance in our wardrobes. You know, what does our closet look like, and who's in it? Mm-hmm. Who are we supporting in it? Right. You know, and I think if you have the money to buy Chanel, then you have the money to buy everybody. Right. And so let us be mindful. I think would be my advice. Yeah.
All right, Jonathan, give us a sketch.
Well, she's influential, and I'm sure some people will listen to her and start to spend their money differently and shop certain vendors or designers. And she's going on a podcast to speak her mind, and good for her. First of all, I don't think anyone ever defined her by her shoes or just being Barack Obama's wife. I mean, she did a lot, or attempted to do a lot, and first ladies have to find their way, and our current first lady has found her shtick and her niche, and it's just a challenge many first ladies face, whether it's Mrs. Bush or Mrs. Obama or the current first lady. It's a big challenge, and I'm sure there are some growing pains that come with that. And you know, we're so far past the Obama presidency. I don't even know why this is being talked about now. Is she pushing a new book?
Well, no, I don't. She probably her podcast. I think she needs more subscribers.
Yeah.
She wants to, but I mean, well, that's part of it too. Why is she pushing it? So what's the psyche though? What's the psyche that's presenting there when you hear comments like those that she made and the choices that she's making in terms of how she tries to maintain a public presence?
Well, I think part of it is she's trying to represent herself as someone who had it very difficult in the White House, and maybe she had her challenges. I don't know, but she's also had quite an impressive life after she graduated college, and I think she should be focusing on all those successes that she had, and maybe trying to be a trailblazer and not just complain about how difficult it was to be in the White House.
Okay, let me try another one. I mean, these are two different individuals, but they're sort of presenting similarly. And this is a lot about like the psychology of how people see themselves or want others to see them. This is Tim Walz. He's the outgoing governor of Minnesota. And this is his characterization of what is happening on the ground in Minnesota with respect to federal law enforcement.
Our history, when things looked really bleak, it was Minnesota's first that held that line for the nation on that July 3rd, 1863. And I think now we may be in that moment that the nation's looking to us to hold the line on democracy.
He was comparing the situation in Minnesota today to the Battle of Gettysburg, in case you didn't catch that. So Minnesota's first held the line the way that a modern-day General George Meade, is holding the line in Minnesota. So that's one. General George Meade.
I think Governor Walz is grossly misinformed if he thinks the rest of the states are looking towards Minnesota for guidance on how to run their own states.
Well, yeah, okay, but Tim Walz's mind, in Tim Walz's mind, he's General George Meade. Now, I'll give you another example. DeWoke farmer William Scott Kelly, who's now under arrest for a violation of the FACE Act. He was, he was the guy that led the charge, the face of the professional agitators in Minnesota, I would argue. But this is what he had to say when he was daring Pam Bondi to come and arrest him.
I mean, what we're seeing around this country is they're using their political influence to attack people that disagree with them. They're going to come at me with charges, and I'm not scared of that. There's no base for these charges. I did not block them from, their service. They welcomed us in. They never asked us to leave. The police never came in and removed us. So we didn't stop their service. In fact, people were still praying the entire time. The music was still playing the entire time. So, Pam Bondi, you want to come and arrest me? You want to come and give me charges? So be it. And for all the people giving me death threats, threatening my life, kill me. Go ahead, kill me. Because you know what? As Fred Hampton said, you can kill the revolutionary, but you can't kill the revolution.
Okay. All right. So the governor of Minnesota, he's a modern-day George Meade. And DeWoke farmer is a modern-day Black Panther revolutionary. Give us the profile.
I don't understand why these people think that they're so important that they compare themselves to historical figures. It just blows my mind that they elevate themselves to that level. And, he disrupted the service. There's no question about that. And then to taunt Pam Bondi to come and get him. These people are reckless, and they care so much about these causes that they're willing to put their lives on the line. And if you don't insert yourself in these situations, you probably won't get hurt or won't get arrested. But they don't seem to be thinking about that in the moment. They care so much about these causes more than they care about their families, their careers, their reputation. We had a video that went viral yesterday of a nurse, I believe she was in Florida, who was ripping on Caroline Levitt, and she's a delivery nurse, and she was talking about Levitt being pregnant and how she would never treat her. And she's really just putting her career on the line, one that she worked so hard to get to. So it really blows my mind that these people don't seem to care about anything in that moment other than their stupid cause.
But if you have somebody, I don't know if you've ever counseled somebody with essentially like a martyr complex, like the woke farmer, they desire to be a martyr, or they have, just an inflated sense of self, and they're putting their life on the line. Tim Walz thinking he's a general in this great civil war. I mean, how do you counsel somebody that thinks of themselves in this way, and that informs their behavior, obviously?
Yeah, they're delusional. They're not looking at facts. They villainize the other side. They villainize the U.S. government or a political figure. We've seen this play out in such tragic ways with the assassination attempt on Trump, with the killing of Charlie Kirk. You can even look at the killing of the United Healthcare CEO. These people, they villainize these individuals to the point where they think it's their duty to take them out. And it's a real problem that I only see growing in our society. These people feel emboldened to take action in the ways that they have. So as far as counseling them, some of them are a lost cause, but with others, I do try to help them separate fact from fiction, or in their case, fantasy, and help them to understand what's actually happening. And, we go back to Trump, and a lot of people that I counseled thought that they would get rounded up and sent off to a faraway island just because they are gay or bisexual or trans. And there's absolutely no evidence that Trump ever wanted to do that or did it. But these people believe that was happening. So really counseling them to try to understand what the facts are and ease them back into reality. Sometimes that works.
Something that you wrote about a few weeks ago in the Post is interesting, because it's one of these phrases you hear over and over again from these automatons that we see on full display chasing ICE around. Part of sort of the progressive script, which is being seen. I'm not seen. Finally, I'm seen. It's all about being seen, and sort of an abstraction. And you wrote about that, some of the patients that you have, where they tell you that after Mamdani's election in New York City, now they finally feel like they're seen. When somebody says that, what are they, how do you receive that, and how do you react to that, and how do you, help them process that? I just find that such it's ubiquitous. It's a statement that is being made, everywhere. But I don't exactly know what it always means, other than sort of the navel-gazing quality of it.
Well, and these are the same people probably that were out there during BLM, No Kings, pro-Palestine, supporting Luigi Mangione. They want to identify with fringe groups. In their mind, they think this is mainstream, but it's really not. Most people in this country are not out there protesting ICE. Most people are far too busy trying to maintain a career or family than to go out there on the streets and act like jerks. But for these people, it's part of their identity, and they have a charismatic leader, whether it's Mamdani or someone else, or Tim Walz, and they feel like they're finally seen and heard and respected by this figure.
So it's a belonging thing. It's like a shared. I mean, and it's the siren song of identitarian politics, and it provides a sense of belonging. It seems to me, and one of the things, and then it's you get into this sort of race to the bottom of whoever behaves more sort of recklessly and hysterically is the best example for the group, is the most committed to the cause. And it's something else, too, and I want to get your reaction to. It calls to mind something that Theodore Dalrymple told me when we were talking in the context of COVID and the mania that swept this country. Mm-hmm. And part of it was this element of frisson, as he said, which is the feeling, the feeling like you're doing something very important. And you sort of suggest that there's this great risk and great import to what you're doing, when in point of fact it's very low risk. There's nothing you're really accomplishing, but it's this I don't know, this mania that takes over, where standing in an idiot circle and excoriating those who don't, or wearing 4 face masks. And a bag over your head. Like, I'm most committed to the cause, and we're going to overcome this together, and we're winning, and what we're doing is so important. But the risk is de minimis. There's nothing that's going to happen to you, but you present yourself as like you're putting your body and livelihood and very life on the line.
Well, and what you've described here is bad group therapy, people just getting around a cause, venting, complaining, but really going nowhere. And in this case, I think these people have an inflated sense of self. It's almost like they're going to war and they need to suit up and wear 4 masks and silly outfits and all that. Reality test. Are we really under attack? Are ICE agents really attacking innocent people? Are they deporting them for no reason? I think people need to look at the facts in this case. But, in their minds, they've demonized such a big part of the country. Anyone.
Did we lose Jonathan? Oh. I guess we lost him. All right, we'll see if we can take a quick break, see if we can bring him back to wrap it up. We'll be right back. Chicago's Morning Answer.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage. AM 560, The Answer.
All right, we've got psychotherapist Jonathan Alper back. Jonathan, I just wanted to let you finish your thought there. We were talking about the frisson, the overcoming, the idea that people are doing something important and overcoming something that is monumental, and together we're going to achieve victory, when, it's just, it's not real.
And it's not in anyone's best interest to hate half the country or hate people who voted differently than you. I would argue that you're doing yourself a disservice. It's very unhealthy for your mental health to run around hating people. Hopefully we can change. Hopefully we can get to a point where Democrats and Republicans can actually be friends and not feel like they have to cut relatives out of their lives just because they voted differently than them. But this, from what I see, is only growing, this division.
A piece that you wrote that was sort of interesting, too. You never know what exogenous factor is going to get people to stop reading from the script and behave consistent with what they actually believe. And what Ozempic and other drugs have done to the whole body positivity movement, which was part of progressive dogma too, until Ozempic arrived.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see how Ozempic has changed my practice and people's attitudes around body positivity. Body positivity was such a big movement for a small segment of the population. Love your body, those types of words were just everywhere with some people.
Fat shaming and all this, right?
Fat shame, love your body, and it seems like that doesn't even exist anymore. And there's now shame or almost embarrassment in discussing that you're taking Ozempic. So it's created a conflict. People are striving to be thinner, and maybe they just feel conflicted because they feel like they need to uphold some of the body positivity movement. So I see that playing out with people where they're torn. They don't know if they should embrace the GLP-1s or if they should embrace being overweight and unhealthy.
Well, right. But, Eli Lilly's stock price isn't going through the roof because people, at the end of the day, don't really want to lose the weight, don't really want to be thinner. And this provides a shortcut to get there. But I mean, it all the things that we know about obesity, they know too. And people would like to, if they could snap their fingers, and now to some extent they sort of can, they take that option. I mean, that's the normal reaction. So it's just funny that, they could, it's one of those things where I mouth the words until I can, provide, until a path is provided where I can act really consistently with what I do think.
Yeah, I agree. But there's also an abuse of Ozempic that I'm seeing. People are not using it as a last resort, but they're reaching for it quickly, and
yes, sure.
It seems like they're unwilling to work on lifestyle and diet and exercise before going to Ozempic. So that needs to change as well.
Jonathan Alpert is a psychotherapist practicing in New York and Washington, D.C. He's the author of the forthcoming book coming this May, Therapy Nation. Jonathan, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much, Dan. Take care.
Take care. And he joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Don't get stuck with a cold shower this winter. Give CenterGuard Plumbing a call. Get a new 40-gallon water heater installed for just $1,195 for standard installation, or a 50-gallon heater for $1,295 standard installation. A proud new sponsor of AM 560, CenterGuard is offering specials on new water heaters. Old man winter is here. Don't get stuck in the cold. And the same can happen to your water heater. If you're having hot water issues or your water heater's over 8 years old, take advantage of this winter special today. CenterGuard Plumbing is Chicagoland's same-day water heater experts. Call before noon and they can schedule your repair or install the same day on in-stock water heaters. They'll even haul away your old one, no charge. You're only a text away from install today. Call 847-406-8883. Mention AM 560 to receive winter special pricing. That's 847-406-8883. Call or text 847-406-8883 or visit CenterGuardPlumbing.com.
Twitchy.com brings you the latest in social news, highlighting and reacting to important conversations from America's most prominent journalists, politicians, and celebrities. Twitchy's kinetic group of editors deliver fast and amusing content around the clock to tell you who said what in global and political news, sports, entertainment, and media. If it's news, they're on it. If it should be news, they're ahead of it. Stay connected to the newswire of the 21st century with Twitchy.com. Twitchy.com.
I'm Rob Cole, owner of Cole Digital in Frankfurt, specialists in custom audio, video, design, and installation. We sell premium TVs from Sony, Samsung, and LG for less money than the big box stores, and premium speakers from Paradigm, Monitor, and B&W. Our installers will mount the TV, hide the wires, and program a single easy-to-use remote, or whole home audio with in-ceiling speakers in each room controlled by an app on your smartphone. We are known for our spectacular home theaters with a laser projector, 120-inch screen, and incredible surround sound, and leather seats, a Starfield ceiling, and acoustic treatments. Tour our Smart Living Design Center in Frankfurt, the largest in America, 15,000 square feet, 5 themed theaters, and 30 rooms of audio-video lighting and great design ideas. We're a conservative-owned local company that gives back to our community. Visit us at coledigital.com, that's K-O-L-E digital.com, or call us at 815-469-2000, and we'll bring the showroom to you. Cold Digital, what smart living is all about.
The following is a paid political announcement.
This is Kevin Coyne, Chairman of the DuPage County GOP. I am inviting you to our Lincoln Day dinner on Friday, February 27th at Abington Banquets in Glen Ellen. We will feature keynote speaker and national political commentator Tudor Dixon. Enjoy an evening of camaraderie, great food, and Republican unity. Sponsorship packages are available. Purchase tickets today at DuPageGOP.com. Paid for by DuPage County Republican Central Committee.
AM 560, The Answer.
Open mic! Open mic Friday! Call in now! Open mic Friday!
Yes, that time of the week, Open Mic Friday. Taking your calls, 312-642-5600. You can text us to that number as well. Taking your calls with comments and calls and texts with comments, criticisms, compliments, concerns, general crack pottery. We'll take it all, as we do. And let's get right to it. We do want to fit some things in, but let's start with a few calls. Barb in Woodridge.
Good morning, Dan.
Morning.
Earlier this week, you talked about the gambling in Illinois. And I remember decades ago, the paper published a statistic about how much money was being spent in the gambling every week when we had what first, the casinos or the lottery. I'd be curious to know if now is there any source that says how much is being spent every week now that they can use credit cards and gambling in Illinois?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have that data at my fingertips, but there is data, in terms of the state's take, which always, it's wetting our beak, the mob economy, the things I've talked about. It's not nearly what you probably think it is. It's going to solve all our problems. A panacea, just like the lottery was a panacea for K through 12 funding, because no matter what money you raise, the rapaciousness of the political class in this state will run through it and then some, which is why we're the worst governed state in the history of the country. And that's not an exaggeration. And it just continues, the destruction of the state, because it's cannibalistic. You have a predatory government. It preys on the productive. And it needs more hosts, or it needs to take more from the hosts it has. So that's what it's going to do. And that's what it's doing. Tom, I don't know where Tom is from, but Tom, go ahead.
Are you talking to me, Dan?
Yeah, yep, you.
Okay, I'm in Olive Branch, Mississippi.
Oh,
and just an earlier segment that you had, that unless somebody's got a really compelling reason to stay in Illinois, the first agenda on anybody's retirement plan should be get out of Illinois. Because I made that move 6 years ago, and I parlayed that move into tens of thousands of dollars. I traded a low 5-figure real estate tax bill to a low 4-figure real estate tax bill. Mm-hmm. Better yet, I got my reassessment notice not too long ago that the new assessment is the same as the old assessment. So with the growth that we've had in the area, my current real estate tax bill has gone down 15%, and
gone down 15%.
Gone down 15%, and I'll be paying that for the next 5 years. They treat seniors very well here. We moved down here. We downsized. We gave up the size of our living room plus a little bit more. But the only municipal service that we seem to be missing is snow plowing. And, this snow removal is wait 3 or 4 days. The temperature goes back into the 50s, sun comes out, snow goes away, life goes back to normal. But somebody lost the keys to the snow plow. But if I could just say one more thing about education here. Yeah. I've got a granddaughter in the grade school here that since she was in preschool, that reading has been encouraged and emphasized. and it continues. Book fairs and fundraisers are all generally reading related, but even more so than that. One of her lessons this year was in regard to Greek mythology, which I think I was a freshman in high school before we got into Greek mythology. But I was reading with interest that Rahm Emanuel picked up on the Mississippi Miracle in the Wall Street Journal.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, I was just going to say, we've talked about, thanks for the call, Tom. I was just going to say, we talked about what's going on with the turnaround and the improvement in test scores in Mississippi. It's so much so that even Tiny Dancer is using it to talk about K through 12 education in this country, and doing it for a fraction of what we spend, and without having to liquidate people's homes like Tom was just describing. So I guess it can be done. It's being done all over the place. I mean, there's still problems with government K through 12 school systems around the country, but what Mississippi is doing is something to perhaps look at, to replicate in states that are not getting the job done, like Illinois. All right, we'll see. The Prime Minister.
Perspicacious Prof, I'm confused. I heard you specifically say you wanted detractors?
Yes. I love that. I love to hear from him.
I don't know what you think you're going to farm out there in Naples.
Hi-oh.
But I called down to the folks at John Deere. They said that Taylor Swift and her sister Skokie were out boating with J.B. Lizzo when her massive yacht struck an autograph seeker. Another case of J.B. Lizzo being involved when the ship hits the fan.
Hi-oh.
Now,
right,
looking back a year ago, one more. Looking back a year ago at the election, Kamala's excellent choice for VP, her running mate, wasn't as complicit in, at a minimum, your Somalian daycare scandal. So you might say the Democrat ticket tried to put the vice back in vice presidency. Thank you, Dan.
Very good, PM. Thank you for that. Bob in Buffalo Grove.
Good morning, Dan. Thanks for the shout-out earlier in your program regarding temps.
I hope you're staying warm.
Let me offer some additional news. I'll date myself by noting 63 years ago, actually today, January 23rd, 1963, I walked to school. I was in high school. It was over a 1 mile walk, and it was 18 degrees below zero. The schools were not closed. Today's students and the CPA teachers are a bunch of wimps.
Okay. And it was uphill both ways, right, Bob? That walk to school?
Well, it was pretty level.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, we're not as gritty as we were back in the day. The other Bob in Waukegan.
Yeah, I'll make this quick because you probably got 100 people on the line. But I was listening to Ted Dabrowski commercial in the beginning of the week, and the one he had today was pretty good. But I have another one for him if he wants it. But he'll have to do it quick because if anybody hears this, they'll probably want to steal it. He should take advantage of Indiana's championship with Signetti. He should say, I'm Ted Dabrowski, and I've created positive change wherever I've been involved in for the last how many ever years it's been since he's been out of college. And he should list all the places, and then he should say, Google me.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, I win everywhere I go. Google me. Yeah, no, it's true. And boy, it sounded wildly braggadocious when he said it a couple of years ago. Doesn't sound so braggadocious now, does it? Yeah, Google me. Dawn in Naperville.
Hi, good morning. The gentleman, well, I don't know if I want to call him a gentleman, but the person that went to the church yelling at the Christians, asking why they weren't marching in the street, to be angry at ICE. My response to him is if I'm a Christian, I have to know what God tells me to do or what God says about a subject. And the Bible isn't an old book. The Bible is God's word that's timely for today. And it says in Proverbs 29:8 that mockers stir up a city, but wise men turn anger away. So I'm going to pray for him and everybody that is out there to make chaos. They really need to be prayed for. And what they need to understand is that we don't appeal to others because other people have their own selfish motives. And that's why we take our appeal, we take our case, we take whatever burden is on our heart, and we take that appeal to the Lord, because the Lord sees all. He knows whatever plans you're hiding that's evil. He knows when you're humble. He knows when you're proud. And I don't always know what's in your heart, but God does. And that's why Jesus said, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. So we speak peace. When we do something wrong, we are humble and we say we're sorry. So I might not know what's in your heart, just like you don't know what's in my heart. But I'm telling you, you're going to live your life so frustrated, so angry, because you're trying to appeal to a law and a justice that only comes from the Lord. So accept God is not for me, and he's not for you. He's not Republican. He's not Democrat. The Lord is for himself. He's full of grace, and he's full of love. So let's pray for them. Let's pray for him. Let's pray that he has a changed heart, because there's nothing impossible for the Lord.
Thanks for the call, Dawn. Well said, as always. I mean, that was why I so enjoyed the exchange I played earlier on the show between Don Lemon and a real Christian congregant of that city's church in St. Paul, who probably heard it. I won't play the whole thing again, but basically just said, "Look, I'm really upset because I came here to spend time with my family and be with my son and be in communion with my fellow congregants, my neighbors, my community. And you guys came in and disrupted it." And he said, "I love you. I love everybody who's here. This is, I don't want to be interviewed. I don't want to talk about immigration policy. I just came here because Sunday is a day of rest and a day of worship, and that was taken away from me, and that upset me." It was quite a moment, and just a wonderful contrast between those goons that invaded the sacred space and behaved the way they did, and the attitude of those who were trying to enjoy their sacred space. Glenn in Orlando.
Yeah, good morning, Dan. Happy Friday. So I was watching the Davos conference, and it just struck me weird that where are the women from the left in the U.S.? Where was Kamala Harris? Where was Elizabeth Warren? Where was AOC? Unless they were represented by Kneepad Newsom, I don't know.
No, they were well, there were some there. Well, for example, Randy Weingarten. She's that teachers union boss who sort of looks like a titmouse on the face. And she was there to talk about the wonderful things and partnerships to improve, because since we've been talking about K through 12 education, improve K through 12 education. Listen up.
So part of what we're trying to do here is say, how do we create this partnership between education, labor, government, and industry, with the goal of creating these pathways so that kids, when they come out of high school or they come out of college, don't have to start saying, what am I going to do next? The pathways become important, and to create those pathways, you also have to create a curriculum, and you have to create this engagement with each other. And the last thing I'll say is this. When you do it, in the United States of America, we have 16,000 school districts.
Okay. That's all I could take. Create pathways to engagement so you have something to do. Yeah. Yeah. A real sense of urgency about the flailing K through 12 government school systems throughout the nation, huh? Yeah, you can count on her. Greg in Elo, Michigan.
Good morning. I just wanted to say that I lived in Miami in 1977 when it snowed for the first time in recorded history. Well, the only time. And one of the benefits of that was being able to see B.B. King in North Miami Beach for a $2 cover charge.
Nice.
And there were maybe 20 people there. So we all gathered around the stage, and it was just a memory I'll never forget.
That's excellent. Thanks for the call, Greg. When I saw B.B. King at Legends, and where else did he? I'm trying to think. I saw him somewhere else too, and now I can't place it. Oh, but the Legends. I mean, Buddy Guy and B.B. King and all the blues greats that ran through Legends, and still do. I'm just not there as much. But yeah, I mean, yeah. What's in his B.B. King and his guitar Lucille, right? Where was the other? Perry and Niles.
Good morning. Dan, you're still doing a great job. I listen as often as I can, and thanks. Two things, please. I want to compliment you, but first I got to get the thought out that I called about. They always say, I walked uphill both ways to school and home. Now the kids are walking downhill both ways. And, poetically or philosophically, but also physically, it's just as hard to walk downhill. It takes a toll on your legs. Can I compliment you, though? For years and years, the only two adjectives they've had to describe the cold is bitterly and brutal. And I'm so sick of that crap. You came up with unholy, and it was so refreshing to hear that.
Okay.
Thanks
for the call, Perry. Appreciate it. Did I see him at Coco Taylor's? Remember Coco Taylor? She had a blues bar on Division. Maybe. All right. I'm just having a conversation with myself. Don't mind me. Owen in Willowbrook.
Hi, Dan. Hey, just a couple points. Trump, before he went to Davos, came out and said ICE needs to market what they're doing better. And I'd actually like to see Trump hold some campaign-style rallies geared specifically toward ICE, where he goes out and shows all the criminals that they arrested on that big screen that he's done. And the other thing that I read was that Jack Smith predicted that the DOJ will probably indict him for perjury. But based on what I've seen out of Pam Bondi, I'm really not. I don't have much faith in that.
Thanks for the call. I don't think the indictment would be perjury unless he said something that was untruthful yesterday, which is always possible. But yeah, I mean, he just did that. I expect the full weight of Department of Justice to do everything they can, and to be put to do everything they can to indict me because Trump has so decreed it, which is a way for him to try to insulate himself and middle Pam Bondi. We'll see. I mean, we talked about this with, of course, Richard Epstein in the 7 o'clock hour, and I think there's a case there. I think, and so did Epstein. Now, he didn't want to do it if he was advising Pam Bondi. Prudentially, we shouldn't do this because it propagates this lawfare culture that is dangerous. But so it's more of a. I think it's more of a political and cultural judgment than a legal one in terms of, is there a case there? There's a case there based on his testimony in cross-examination by Texas Representative Brandon Gill alone. Our poet laureate, Joe from Arlington Heights.
Good morning.
Today is the 53rd anniversary of the March for Life, and about 2/3 of abortions are done by the abortion pill. So I want to offer a poem, make people think about what's happening. The New Graveyards by Joe from Arlington Heights. Her mournful, lonely cries, searing pain and bitter sighs, echo off of tile walls. Screams of regret are useless now. Dare not look where his body lays, just push the handle, the prescription says. But grief now overwhelms her mind. Below, she knows what she will find. Viewing his tiny human form intact, hurry, flush the remnants of her act. Horror strikes her broken heart, all her strength to do the final part. Into darkness, filthy, wet and cold, a hidden network of sewer pipes old, with rushing sewage his body sent to the city's treatment plant. In separation tanks, the solids drop, and lighter liquids to the top, to be skimmed and separated once again. The process is near its end. Air bubbles and chlorine gas send the treated liquid on its path to stream or river near, and then to the ocean to disappear. Captured solids spread across drying beds contain the remnants of our dead. Once the drying is complete, come dump trucks with their manifest sheets. Sold as fertilizer for grass and trees, the new graveyards no one sees. Cemeteries just the same. Nursery fertilizer is now his name.
Okay, Joe, thank you. Well crafted, a little heavy, no question, but should be a heavy topic. Jerome in Palos Hills.
Yeah, good morning, Dan. Yes, I just briefly wanted to mention that we're, even on days like this, where it's right now, 9 below the temperature, you watch all these weather people in Chicago, they don't want to mention that the average could be like 30 degrees because they've been pushing all this global warming and climate change. And I guess they just don't want people to figure out if they start seeing the averages like today. Like I said, I think it should be around 30 degrees, and they don't want to mention that.
Thanks for the call, Jerome. Bill, Waukegan.
Hey, Dan. Thanks for taking my call, and happy Friday to everyone. I just wanted to see what your feelings are about the Uvalde policeman being acquitted of the 29 counts of, letting kids get killed, in a school that he's overseeing or supposed to be protecting. Have a great weekend, my friend. I love you guys as always. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Bill. That's a tough one. I mean, the Uvalde police response in that school shooting was difficult to defend. I'll tell you that. I just certainly found it objectionable and indefensible. I suppose part of the problem was in that case, I think there's been 2 officers charged. And I think one of the arguments that the defense made is, these 2, or this guy in particular that was acquitted, and not everybody else. This was all on his shoulders. How do you hold one person accountable when you had the police presence you had there, and the apparent chaos, cowardice, some combination of 2? I don't know. Fear. Legitimate fear, I understand. It's a situation where that is dangerous. You're in danger. You're putting your life on the line, but that's why you wear the uniform. So I think it was more like, my sense is that the jury was, how do we hold one person accountable when everybody there for those, what was it? More than 20 minutes, didn't enter to confront the shooter either. Tough one. Lou in Western Pennsylvania.
Dan Proft, have I got a money-making idea for you?
You, sir, are going to write, direct, produce, and star in the new TV show that is literally sweeping the planet. The show is called Come to Jesus. Here's the premise, Dan. You are a co-anchor with Amy Jacobson. Yes, we're bringing the old girl back. You have the #1 talk radio listener call-in show in the world. Every morning, over 1 billion people tune in to listen to your advice. Presidents interviewed by you. Premiers, heads of state. Your success generates you and your staff multi-millions of dollars a day. Advertisers sue each other to sponsor seconds of your production. However, there are forces out there against you. They are envious of your success. They are powerful and want to take you down. Sex, power, money, and grace are their weapons. And here is the twist. You, sir, may be a part of them. When should we run the trailer?
Thanks for the call, Lou. Boy, an interesting treatment. I'm going to have to consider that. We'll pick that up next week because we got to close it out with Chuck from Delavan.
Hey, how you doing? I'm looking at a Milton propane bill for $829. I'm asking everybody to come up to where I live here.
Quickly, Chuck.
And fill my wood burner.
All right, stay warm, Chuck. Thanks, everybody, for chiming in. It's now 9 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
It starts tonight in New Mexico and Texas. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. A massive storm full of snow and sleet coating a lot of the south and ice.
We're going to have